From a crazy kid who tries to eat me in class to a cringy kid who refuses to shower, these are the cringiest kids of all time. Let's go.
And we're crying, 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 like a wounded animal.
How's it going, everyone? Today we got a crazy story that I know you'll enjoy. So we're gonna call the subscriber who submitted this story Chris. So anyways, there's this girl in Chris's class who we're just gonna call we're going to call her the furry girl, and a little disclaimer, it's totally fine if that's something you like to do. Honestly, at this point, it's not even that big of a deal, because I know a lot of people in the comment section last time I had like a furry story were like, well, I am one, but I don't act like this. But I don't care if you do this. I really don't care. It's all good for you. As long as you don't do what the furry in this video does, you are totally cool in my book. So yeah, if you're a normal person who just has hobbies like that, I don't care. But if you do what this person does, bro, you're not normal, man, as you will see. Anyways, we're just going to call her furry girl. Actually, specifically, we'll just call her wolf girl because she has like a wolf outfit or whatever. So anyways, there's this girl in Chris's class who we're going to call wolf girl, with the disclaimer out of the way. Also, if you know someone who does this, don't be cruel to them for no good reason unless they try and consume the teacher. Okay, that's the exception where I say bullying is good. Don't take me out of context. Anyways, though, so there was the girl, the wolf girl, every single day would come into class with this like tail type thing. Like she'd have a tail clip on, and some people were like, what is that? Like some people they didn't question it outright to her, but Chris's class was actually pretty cool about it. Because it's not the most normal thing ever, but no one blatantly made fun of her to her face, which is pretty good. I think we're definitely moving in the right direction when it comes to that stuff, and I'm very happy to see that no one in Chris's class was just being a jerk for no good reason. But yeah, every single day, this girl would wear this like wolf tail type thing, and no one would really care. And the teacher was also fine with it. The teacher just didn't really care about that because he was like, okay, like it doesn't really affect the learning. It's not so overly distracting. Like they were pretty loose with the dress code. You could kind of wear whatever you wanted unless it had like swear words on the shirt or it said something insane, or there were some instances, but for the most part, the teacher didn't care. The teacher probably would have said something privately if there was a problem, but every single day, there wasn't a problem. However, all of a sudden, right? Well, not all of a sudden. There was a day, where the story really starts, where they had an exam in this class. It was like a midterm. I just had a lot of midterms. That's why I didn't post that much a week ago. And during this midterm, right, it was a pretty big one. It was the first of two that they were going to have this year. And, Chris gets in there a little bit early. He sits down. And a little bit later, the wolf girl gets there. And the wolf girl is not wearing her typical wolf tail and clothing. She's wearing a full-on wolf suit. Like she has a big wolf suit, whatever type thing. She came in full dress, bro. She came in the full thing. And here's the thing, right? The teacher didn't totally understand what this was. And normally probably would have been okay with it. And as you will see in later, he actually doesn't really care normally. However, the thing about like the full fur suit, wolf suit, whatever, is that there was a lot of space in it. Like, the wolf girl was basically wearing a wolf helmet and a wolf costume body type thing. And it wasn't super clear if there weren't like notes or something inside. And yeah, so the teacher actually kind of pulled her aside as soon as she walked in, and the teacher explained pretty politely like, hey, can you take that stuff off for the test? Because, the teacher was not sure even what that was. And also he was kind of thinking, oh, well, there's a chance that, I don't know, that there's notes inside. You know how some people will write notes on inside their hoodie or something. And at a minimum, it's probably a little distracting for a test environment at a minimum, right? But the wolf girl was not very happy with it. The wolf girl was like, this is who I am. You're taking this away from me, which, okay. yeah, I don't know if I can fully get behind that specifically. But anyways, the wolf girl was not very happy about it, but the teacher was pretty firm. The teacher was pretty cool with everything else. As you will see later on in the story, he didn't care if the girl wore it at a different time. He just wasn't a fan of it during the test, and also because he just didn't understand even what was going on, right? And, eventually they had a little bit of a back and forth. It never got really heated. It's about to get pretty intense later on, but for this time, it didn't get that heated. The wolf girl was kind of just like, oh, no, like, that's, like, I'm keeping this on. This is part of me. But the teacher was firm enough in his response to be like, no, I'm sorry. It just doesn't work like that. You just can't, because, like, I don't know. I think the teacher was fine in saying that. So, the wolf girl had to take off her costume. It took about, 5 minutes to do so, so the teacher informed her on when she came back in the room, which the test had already started, that, she could have 5 extra minutes if necessary, which the test wasn't supposed to take the whole class period. So that was kind of just a courtesy of, I made you go do something for 5 minutes, so you get 5 minutes. So this was a very cool teacher. Good guy. She took the test or whatever, and Chris was like, okay, this is very interesting, but I need to focus on the exam. He took it. Chris ended up doing just fine. Congrats, Chris. You will now have a good job later in life. I'm kidding. It's not always a direct correlation like that, but do well in school, kids, okay? But anyways, it starts to get interesting, though, the next day, because the wolf girl doesn't come into class that day. And I think this was middle school. And to my by the way, this was submitted to me to my Instagram DMs. My Instagram's in the description. Please follow me first, so I have a nice big number next to my name, and then DM me the full story. Don't DM me saying, do I want to hear a story? Yes, I do. But I also don't want to individually DM people. I try not to accept the DMs at all. I just read the story and write it down because it clutters up the DMs I have. They're already really cluttered. So the answer is yes, but I can't really respond to you most of the time. What I'm trying to say is just submit stories, right? I was told that it was very, very, very uncommon for anyone to ever skip class. I know that now I'm in college, attendance is not always necessary. Especially for lecture-based classes. You're not always there. Sometimes it makes more sense to just learn it on your own and show up for tests and exams. That happens. However, at least for me in middle school, no one ever wasn't there in class unless they called in sick or whatever. And Chris just kind of assumed that, I don't know, the wolf girl was sick. I don't know. That's a fair enough assumption. That's sane enough, right? But anyways, as Chris was leaving the class, this guy, who was in the class with him, came up to him and was like, dude. And Chris and this guy were kind of friends. They were friendly. They weren't, hanging out with each other after class or anything like that. But they knew each other. They were on a first-name basis. They had some good conversations when they were group projects. They shared some jokes in that class. But it was still a little weird for him to, come up to him pretty intensely, meaning, hey, dude, you need to, listen to what I'm saying. And so, sure enough, right, Chris is like, yeah, what's up? And this guy's like, dude, the wolf girl in our class? And Chris is like, yeah, of course, the one with the tail. And he's like, yeah, you remember what happened yesterday? And Chris is like, yeah, I remember what happened yesterday. She came into class, and she was in that full suit or whatever, and she had to take it off. And the dude's like, yeah, you know why she's not in class today? And Chris was like, I thought she was, sick or something. No one skips ever. And the guy's like, so I happen to know a girl who's either friends with the wolf girl or has a friend, somehow has a connection to her, right? And Chris is like, okay. And they're like, dude, apparently the wolf girl was super mad yesterday when the teacher told her to take off the whatever she was wearing. And Chris was like, okay. And then he's like, oh, dude. And then, apparently she's not sick today. She called in sick, but she faked being sick. Chris is like, okay. And he's like, dude, apparently she's just been doing, ancient rituals. She's been, doing, voodoo spells on him and black magic spells and satanic curses. She's just been trying to do magic all day to try and curse this teacher. And Chris is like, what? that's insane. Like, where did you hear that from? Like, that's really weird. And he's like, dude, trust me. Like, I know that sounds insane, but I have a friend who has a friend who's like super close with her. And the wolf girl was texting this girl all day, telling her about all the different spells and stuff that she was trying to put on the teacher. At this point, Chris is like, oh, wow. So this is a lot more deep than I thought. What is going on? And this guy's like, dude, I know it's super like, it's super weird. I don't totally get it. But all I'm trying to say is like, you should definitely be in class tomorrow. Because if she comes, she's going to, like, I guarantee you it's going to be entertaining. And Chris is like, damn, all right, like, cool, okay. So the next day comes around, and this is where things really, really get interesting. Or it definitely is where the title of this video doesn't necessarily, not saying it, like, comes true, but no, it does come true. It is where the title really becomes an integral part of the story, which is, you've read it right. So anyways, how do we put this right? So anyways, next day, Chris is in class. It only took the teacher about a day to grade the tests. I think it was like multiple choice mostly, so it was pretty easy, but there's a lot of kids in the class. Teachers have a lot to do. Cut them some slack, I found. And so anyways, he's in class. And he is kind of just, he gets there and he's waiting to see if the wolf girl comes. Because, that's going to be interesting. And sure enough, the door opens and the wolf girl comes. And she's in her full wolf bodysuit or whatever. And Chris is like, oh, like, at first Chris is like, oh, shoot, like, the teacher might have a problem with that. There might be an altercation, like, dang, this is about to get interesting. So the teacher sees the wolf girl and acknowledges the fact, like, looks at her, so he definitely knows that she's in this full-body wolf suit, smiles and says, oh, welcome back, hope you're feeling better. No comment at all about the full wolf suit, right? And it looks like the wolf girl was almost, like, shocked that the teacher wasn't, like, upset with her. It was almost as if she, like, was doing that, wearing that to make him mad and be, like, prove a point or something, I don't know. And, the teacher honestly just didn't have an issue with it. I think the teacher just had an issue with the wolf suit before because, like, first of all, it's very new to him. He doesn't know what's going on. But one, he's like, okay, there could definitely be, like, ways to cheat with that. And also, two, low-key distracting for a test. But I guess he just didn't care during class time because I guess he was just waiting for it to be a distraction instead of during a test. He didn't want to risk anything, which I guess makes sense. So the wolf girl was actually kind of confused. Like, oh, I guess the teacher isn't going to... care, which, like, okay, that's fine, I guess. So, the wolf girl sits down, and Chris turns to his friend in his class, and his friend, like, looks at him and points, like, takes his phone out of his pocket and points at it, like, frantically. So Chris realized that, okay, like, I should check my phone. Chris very sneakily takes out his phone, because now, like, in college, at least for me, you can low-key have your phone out. There are some classes, some teachers are like, oh, I'll penalize your participation or whatever. But a lot, especially the lecture-based ones, they don't totally care. So, Chris, but in middle school, or at least high school, I forgot exactly when this took place, Chris had to be very sneaky with taking his phone out. And Chris looks down at his phone, and he sees a text from an unknown number. That unknown number happens to be his friend in the class. I guess he either got his number for a group project and just didn't put his contact in or something. And he's like, dude, I heard something crazy. And, sure enough, he's like, okay, what did you hear? And he's like, dude, you're not going to believe it. And, Chris is, like, very sneakily trying to type because he's not supposed to have his phone out in class. So he's low-key like, bro, I'm not, like, he's like, yeah, okay, just tell me. And that's when Chris receives a text message saying, Wolf Girl is going to try and eat the teacher as revenge. You can only imagine how I reacted when I read this DM, dude. Like, I understand, like, this is crazy or whatever to the, like, the person who was actually there. But just imagine how I reacted reading this DM on my Instagram. Like, I've already had a story like this, bro. And then there's another one of these. Are you serious? Anyways, right? So, Chris is looking at this. He's like, what is this? He kind of responds like, what does that even mean, dude? And Sure enough, right? Very soon, Chris never got a text message response. I think the kid just didn't want to like risk getting caught texting or anything. And also, I think the kid realized that Chris would learn pretty quickly what that meant. Like, it wasn't going to be a mystery for very long what he meant by that. So this was the day where the teacher was handing back the tests. So the teacher had a bunch of tests. He was going around. He was handing them back. And eventually he got to the row with the wolf girl. And this is when things got pretty interesting. So the teacher goes up to the wolf girl and takes out the test. And remember, the wolf girl's in a full wolf suit or whatever. And the teacher hands the test, is like handing over the test. The test is in the teacher's hand. And before, the teacher could drop the test on the wolf girl's desk, the wolf girl quickly kind of like lunges her head forward and like engulfs this, like the teacher's hand into her mouth, which is much bigger now because it's in like the wolf suit or whatever. And like, it doesn't have claws or teeth or anything, but bites down and starts to pull. And the teacher's like, yo, okay, I don't know if he's like, yo, but he's like, what? And like the wolf girl pulls him in and starts, how like a dog has like a chew toy and like shakes its head really quickly to try and like, wrestle it around. The wolf girl starts like to shake her head. And remember, the teacher's like, half of the teacher's arm is in her like, her fake wolf stuffed head or whatever, and starts like being whipped around back and forth. And the teacher's like, stop it, Stacy, stop it. Let's pretend her name's Stacy. And the wolf girl's just like, I don't know. I don't know, guys. I know you have questions. I don't have answers. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger, okay? And the wolf girl's like, starts whipping his head around or whatever. And eventually, the teacher is able to break free or whatever. And is about to yell at the wolf girl. It's like, Stacy, what are you? And the wolf girl, once again, lunges out of her seat this time and like bites down on his leg. And he's like, what are you doing? Like pushes her off or whatever. Doesn't like destroy her with like a 360 karate chop to the face or something, but like pushes her off and is like, Stacy, like, this behavior is unacceptable. I need you to go to the front office now. Stacy goes on all fours, starts howling at him. There we go. Is like, oh, why do I live? Just to suffer, bro. What is this story? Anyways, the teacher is just like, this was not covered in grad school. This was not part of the final exam of how to be a teacher, man. What do I do? And at this point, two other kids in the class were actually like, they got up and they kind of like stood with the teacher and they're like, Stacy, we need you to go to the front office. And Stacy's just barking at them like, pop, pop, pop. I don't know why the wolf was barking, but whatever. People get confused. And yeah, so sure enough, like the two kids stood up to kind of like make sure that she didn't like attack him again. And the teacher kind of like phoned the security to come down. And after an insanely tense 2 minutes of like the wolf girl running around barking or whatever, the security guards came in, kind of like escorted her out. And yeah. Let's just say that the rest of class was extremely awkward because the teacher tried to continue on like nothing just happened. However, a girl tried to eat him and started barking and howling at him. So it's not like nothing happened because something definitely did happen. Something definitely did happen. And yeah, let's just say that, when the wolf girl was allowed back in class like a week later, she was not allowed to wear her suit and wasn't even allowed to wear her tail because the front office is like, we're not going to let you do any of that stuff just because we think you might do that again, And she had to sit in like a very specific seat that was like, you couldn't have one person in front or behind her, and she had to be in a certain part of the classroom. It was a very awkward next couple weeks. Eventually, people kind of just forgot about it, and let's just say that the teacher was instructed to no longer have group projects after that point, just because like they didn't want Stacy to eat one of the other But okay, I gotta say it with a straight face. They didn't want Stacy to eat one of the other classmates in her wolf fursuit. There we go. That's the premise of the story. Moral of the story is, I don't really know. I just don't be the antagonist in these stories in real life, please. We're calling today's subscriber who submitted the story Brent. So this all happened when Brent was at soccer camp. And so Brent went to the soccer camp every single year. And it just happened that this year he encountered the emo kid at soccer camp. So anyways, this was just another summer of Brent going to soccer camp. His mom dropped him off, and once again, he was pretty excited to go. Unfortunately, some of the friends he made from the year before, they didn't show up this time, so he was very proactive about finding people, meeting new people, and trying to make some new friends. So anyways, in the very beginning of soccer camp, they had kind of a get to know other people type deal. And all of a sudden, right, Brent sees this girl, and she was at kind of like the girls' soccer camp. So it was kind of split up like boys' soccer camp and girls' soccer camp. However, it was all under the same umbrella of like the soccer camp program. So they would eat lunch together, do non-soccer activities, but like the morning soccer practices were kind of split up by gender like that. And so anyways, right away, Brent saw this girl, Emily, and he immediately kind of fell in love with her. Not actually, but was like, OMG, lol, she's cute. I'm going to try and hit. No, I'm just kidding. He's like, I don't know. He's like, he's going to soccer camp. He's not trying to hit, bro. That's crazy. But anyways, right, so she's going to be an important character later on. But for the meantime, we don't need to think about her because someone much more important comes into the picture. So while Brent is thinking about like, oh my God, look at that girl over there. I got to start talking to her. That's crazy. He accidentally bumps into this guy and he turns around. This guy is like, I don't know, a little bit bigger than him, a little bit heavier than him, just like kind of a bigger guy. And he's got this like long black hair that's swooshed over. He's wearing like the standard soccer cleats, but otherwise it's like this black band heavy metal t-shirt. He's got like black painted nails. He's got like a spiky wristband on or whatever. And he turns around. He's like, yo, what did you bump into me, bro? And Brent's like, oh, my fault. Like, didn't mean to do that. He's like, you don't think that I'm an alpha? Is that what you think? Brent's like, what? He's like, I'm an alpha male, just in case you weren't aware, which I know that you subconsciously were because, all betas instantly know when there's an alpha present. And Andrew was the guy from like 7 stories ago. Brent was like, what? He's like, bro, do you not know what beta males and alpha males are? Well, basically, beta males are like you and lame, and alpha males are strong, powerful, and dominant in the pack. And with that, like, the emo kid does a big, like, swipe of his big, long, black hair, so, like, his bangs would no longer cover his eyes. It immediately fell back in front of his face. He's like, yeah, just so you know, kid, get out of my way. And the emo kid, like, shuffles away. And this was Brent's first interaction with the emo kid. So he's like, okay, that's cool, man. Like, okay, see you around, buddy. Bye-bye. So anyways, let's fast forward a little bit. After soccer practice in the morning, Brent was actually one of the better kids there. He was pretty good at soccer. They had lunch, and in the afternoon, they had activities such as like this, like, I don't know, like tag, capture the flag, all kind of like random camp activities. And today was capture the flag, and Brent happened to be on the same team as Emily. So immediately he goes over there. He's like, hey, how's it going? Like, my name is Brent. Emily's like, hey, like, my name's Emily. Nice to meet you. And Brent and Emily immediately hit it off. They're having a good time. They're talking with each other. They're enjoying each other's company. You simply love to see it. And like from very far away, Brent catches the eye of the emo kid who's on the other team and is just staring him down for some reason. Brent doesn't really think much of it, and then he goes back to talking to Emily. So they're playing capture the flag right now, and Brent, runs over to the other side, gets the flag, right, and starts running back to his side. If you don't know capture the flag, there's like this little penny on both sides or like a little piece of cloth or something, and while you're on the opponent's side, if they tag you, you're in jail. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to run over there, grab their flag, and run back to your side without being tagged. However, there was a stipulation that it had to be a tag. This isn't tackling. You can't push someone. You can't like punch them or Brent is running over there. Sorry, I have a list of names in front of me and from other stories. Brent is running over there. He grabs the enemy team's flag and is running back to his side, and he's really close when he just like immediately slams into the ground. And that's when he realizes that there's a big guy on top of him. And that's when he realizes that the emo kid tackled him. So the emo kid's like, nice try, buddy. Next time, try not to fight the alpha males. And then camp counselor comes over and says, hey, we said no tackling. You're on the sidelines, points to the emo kid, he's disqualified or whatever, has to sit on the sidelines. Ooh, so alpha, man. But anyways, right, so the penny's returned, but also Brent isn't in, jail. He goes back to the other side, and the emo kid has to sit out for the rest of Capture the Flag, and Brent continues to talk to Emily, and the entire time, the emo kid is just, looking over, and he's all angrily staring at Brent. So Brent is now his official enemy. Brent kind of just assumed that they were enemies because of when he bumped into him and also when he got him disqualified, which did Brent really get him disqualified, or was it because he's an idiot and jumped on him? That's why he got disqualified? Who knows, man? But there was another reason why the emo kid hated Brent. There was another reason that Brent did not realize at the moment, but was very, very, very potent, and is going to be very, very important for later on in the story. I'm gonna give you guys a hint. It starts with an E and ends with a mly. Did you guys get it? Starts with an E and ends with a mly. Emily? I'm just going to tell you, yeah, it is Emily, the girl. So emo kid likes her. Anyways, so Brent and Emily talk for the rest of that Capture the Flag game. The entire time the emo kid is staring Brent down. Brent just simply assumes, well, this kid hates me for that reason only. But let me just say that the next week of soccer camp was the craziest week that Brent has ever had. So anyways, right, his mom picks him up. He goes back home. His mom's like, hey, how was the first day? And Brent says, oh, I met this really weird kid who tackled me. And she's like, oh my God, are you okay? He's like, yeah, actually, I have barely any scrapes on me even. But he seems to not like me, so I'll keep you updated on that. So Brent is dropped off the next day, and he walks over there. And that's when the emo kid, is just staring him down. And, Brent is kind of walking over because there's a little bit of a 5, 10, 15-minute period where the kids are just standing around talking with each other, waiting for them all to be dropped off. And then the soccer camp officials or camp counselors would then split them up into groups, do soccer drills, play games, whatever, standard kind of affair. And he's just kind of waiting around. And that's when the emo kid comes up to him and says, so you're challenging my authority as the alpha man. And Brent is kind of just like, what? He's like, I'll say it again, just in case your little beta ears couldn't hear me. So you're challenging my authority that I am the alpha male of the pack. If we were wolves, which we kind of are, and Brent was like, what? If we were wolves, as we kind of are, as I said, I would be the alpha male, alpha wolf, and you would be the beta wolf, and I would be banging your wife while you watch little cuck beta wolf. Whoa. And Brent is looking at this kid, and this kid is like, no offense, but this kid is the opposite of what a stereotypical alpha male would look like, right? One of those red-pilled alpha males. It just looks the complete opposite of that. But anyways, Brent's not gonna get into he's not gonna rebuttal this kid, because what is there to rebuttal? Everything, man. This kid has no argument. But anyways, Brent's like, okay, and the emo kid's like, well, you say okay, but remember yesterday when you got me kicked out of the game, which you obviously tipped off the ref? And Brent's like, bro, you tackled me. It's very clearly stated in the rule books that you're not allowed to tackle anyone. How is this on me? He's like, dude, it was so clearly on you because the ref understood that I was the alpha male and I was simply asserting my dominance, bro. And, Brent's just like, dude, the frick are you talking about, dude? I paid him off with what? The $5 allowance I get a week? With what? My used smelly stinky socks? What do I have? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe he took his daughter on a date because his daughter's so ugly she'd never get a date. Oh. And Brent's like, was that a diss? Does he even have a daughter? He's 20, bro. What? And the emo kid's like, anyways, I just wanted to let you know that I'm the alpha man. You're the beta man. I will do your wife when you have one. And scene. And the emo kid walks away. And Brent at this point is like, what? Why? why? Why is this my life? Anyway, so skip forward to the soccer practice. They're put into groups, and the emo kid was in group B earlier, so they basically split them up into group A and group B. So the group A is the better players, and group B is the I'm just kidding, the players who are newer to soccer. And the emo kid apparently was on the cusp of group A. It was at the very top of group B, and because his performance was good enough, he was actually moved up to group A. So now Brent, instead of having a morning to himself to focus on soccer, now had to deal with the emo kid being, thrown into the mix here. So anyways, they're doing some drills with the soccer ball, and they're kind of like kicking them around cones. You had to kind of keep control of the ball while you were running. And the emo kid, they said, okay, line up into 3 groups. And the emo kid immediately ran behind Brent. And Brent kind of looks behind him. He's like, what? And the emo kid said, nothing, Brent. Just letting you know that I'm the alpha male here. And Brent's like, okay, fine. Let's just do the drill. So the ref blows the whistle. Brent starts kicking the ball and moving with it. And the emo kid immediately runs up behind him and trips him. He's like, oh, sorry. And the ref's like, hey. And the emo kid's like, it was an accident, I swear. And the ref's like, all right, be careful. And Brent is starting to get really angry because, if you get an injury in soccer, especially if you get, a foot injury, he could be out for the entire week. I mean, this is, one of his favorite camps that he has every single summer. He loves going to it. It's one of his favorite things to do. And this emo kid, for the second time in the last 24 hours, has, has gotten really close to causing him a pretty big injury. He could have jumped, he jumped on him yesterday. He ran behind him, knocking him over. What if he twisted an ankle? What if he, fractured something in his leg? It's not that hard, especially when you got a big old kid jumping on top of you every 5 minutes. It's difficult. It's not that difficult, man. So anyways, Brent, for the next activity, waits to get into line before the emo kid does, because he doesn't want to be in the same line as the emo kid. But it turns out that, everyone else lines up, and it's literally just Brent and the emo kid waiting for each other to move, because the Brent wants to go where the emo kid doesn't go, and the emo kid wants to go where Brent goes. And the refs not the refs, but the soccer coaches are like, come on, kind of like, guys, get into line. And Brent's like, okay. And he sprints to the end of the line, and then the emo kid sprints to the back of that line. And the coach is like, emo kid, says his actual name, can you go to another line? That line's too long. And the emo kid's like, okay, moves over one line. And when the coach turns his head, the emo kid literally runs back into the line with Brent again. So when the coach turns around, he's like, wait, emo kid, I said, could you go to that line? And he's like, fine. Emo kid eventually goes to that line, actually does that. So for the rest of soccer practice, the emo kid tried to bump into Brent, tried to make his life difficult, basically was just being a big butt the entire time. But thankfully, that nothing really happened. He didn't bump into Brent successfully again. In fact, the emo kid, most of the time when he tried to bump into Brent would do some very slick soccer move, kind of break his ankles, not literally, but you know what I mean. And the emo kid would fall flat on his face because he kind of tried to run into Brent, and then Brent sidestepped him and completely swerved out of his way. Anyways, though, things start to get a little bit more interesting because throughout the next day, Brent and Emily are talking it up. It's kind of the known thing for the camp that those two were kind of the unofficial soccer camp couple. I don't know if your camps had stuff like that, but this was true for the soccer camp. And word was that the two of them, they were gonna kiss soon. Oh my God, guys, isn't that 12th base or something? So sure enough, right, one of these days, so a day later, Emily and Brent are just sitting with each other at lunch. They're kind of on a quote unquote date or whatever. And that's when a girl comes over and sits next to them. And Emily's like, oh, this is my friend Robin. And Robin's like, hey guys, I just want to let you know, Emily, that the kid over there, and points to the emo kid, is planning to ask you out soon. And Emily's like, dude, I don't know that kid. I've never spoken to him in my life. And Brent's like, oh my God, I know exactly who that kid is. Emily's like, what? And Brent basically tells her the story that I told you guys for the last 13 minutes. And she's like, oh my God, he's the worst. And Brent's like, well, that would explain why he really hates me too, because not just that I embarrassed him, but I've been hanging out with you the entire time. And, he probably knows that we've been talking a lot. And Emily laughs a little bit. And this is when Robin says, dude, I'm serious. This kid is going to come over and ask you out within like the next 24 hours. He's going to do it publicly. It's going to be really embarrassing. Everyone's told him not to do it, but he's in his own world. You gotta let him down nicely though. And Brent was like, no mercy, make him suffer. Emily's like, Brent, I'm not gonna make him suffer. I don't know this kid. Brent's like, make him suffer. Emily's like, shh. Okay, I'm gonna be nice. When he comes over, I'm going to be firm, I'm going to be direct, but I'm going to be nice about it, I'm going to be cordial, and life is going to go back to what it was before. So sure enough, right, Brent now realizes that the emo kid has a massive crush on Emily. And Brent also starts to think about it. When Emily says no to him, and when she starts really, hanging out with me more, and when word gets around that we kiss, because we totally are, this is in Brent's head, right, he's going to actually, ramp up the craziness even more than it already is. I think I'm screwed, boys. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment emo down below. I'm going to heart as many comments as I can that say that. That is the secret word of the day. And also, if you want to support the channel and help boost me back into the algorithm, all you got to do is at some point, maybe after this video, maybe later, sit down and watch a bunch of my videos in a row, maybe while you're playing video games or drawing or cleaning your room, or maybe to help you go to sleep. I take that as a compliment now. I understand it. Leave in the comment section down below how you're helping boost the channel. I will heart it, I will say thank you, and I'll even shout some people out, like the person on screen right now. Thank you to this person on screen and all of you guys for all the support recently. It's really helped boost the channel. We're growing again. You'll love to see it. Let's get back to the story. So anyways, flash forward to that night, or not that night, but that afternoon. Remember when this is the mixed gender, just fun, more camp activities, they're playing dodgeball. And sure enough, the emo kid and Brent actually happen to be on the same team this time. So emo kid and Brent, they're picking up the dodgeballs, they're throwing them, they're trying to avoid being hit by the dodgeballs. And the emo kid walks over and is like, "Sup, bro?" And Brent's like, "What?" Emo kid's like, "I just want to let you know that, I know that you and Emily, or you have been trying to flirt with Emily, and it's been failing horribly from my sources, at least that's what my sources said. And I just want to let you know that, I let you have your fun. I let you play like the little beta little lamb you are. But I'm actually going to come in and, as the alpha male, assert my dominance and claim what is mine. Emily shall be my girlfriend by the end of tomorrow. Mark my words, and I will watch as little tears roll down your face because you're so sad that I took your girl. Oh, little Brent, I'm so sorry." Brent's like, "Dude, she's not gonna, I've talked to her, she's gonna say no. Don't do it. I hate you, but I know for a fact that you're gonna get rejected in front of everyone." The emo kid's like, "Nice try, little boy. I know for a fact that my testosterone is 10 trillion and yours is 0. So based on that alone, plus a billion other factors, such as my manliness, my alpha maleness, my swag, overall levels, and a billion more things, she will obviously say yes to me. And even if you two are fake dating, she'll break up with you immediately to say yes to me. I just know some things that you don't know, Brent. Get over it." So the emo kid walks away. And Brent's like, "Well, my conscience is clear because I tried to warn the kid not to do it. I tried to warn the kid, right? I'm not a bad guy. I told him not to do it. I told him. I said, I even gave him the benefit of the doubt. I said, I don't like you, but I want to help you here. He didn't listen to me. It's not my fault, whatever happens tomorrow." Next day rolls around. At soccer practice, the emo kid for the entire morning is like, Brent, better spend the last moments with Emily as you can because she's about to be my girlfriend. Oh, and Brent's like, "Dude, shut up, dude." He's like, "Oh my God, am I getting to you, man? Am I getting to you, man? Oh man, it was so easy to break your thin, weak beta skin. Oh my God, my words are hurting you so much. I'm gonna lick up your little salty tears. They're so tasty and so good." And Brent's like, "Shut up, bro. You're gonna get embarrassed. I can't wait for the moment. She better go hard." Anyways, flash forward to lunch. The moment. So anyways, Brent is sitting with Emily, and Emily's like, "Dude, the emo kid, I can't see him anywhere." And Brent's like, "Dude, he's gonna ask you out. It's happening. Get over it. It's going to happen any second. She's like, he's going to do it the next day, which means probably now in front of everyone. And, you know, Brent's like, that's what he said he would do. And Brent was like, oh my God, don't turn around. Because Brent was looking, and the emo kid was walking over. And what was he walking over with? He was walking over with a boom box. You already know where this is going. And Brent's like, you know what? Brace yourself. Try and have an out-of-body experience right now so you don't have to deal with what's about to happen. This is about to be bad, Emily. I'm so sorry. And Emily's like, oh my God, oh my God. And that's when you start to hear music. It's the emo kid's personal band. So it's like this heavy metal rock band. So just imagine some like heavy metal rock going in the background. And the lyrics are, Emily, Emily, why do you hang with losers like Brent? Emily, please love me. Yeah. And it's just kind of like more stuff like that in the background. And the emo kid is like rocking out by himself with an air guitar while this is all going on. It is the worst moment of Brent's life because the secondhand embarrassment is so strong, he's basically getting firsthand embarrassment from the whole thing. Everyone has stopped eating and turned around, including the camp counselors. They're just watching this kid bounce around with an air guitar with his like super long black bangs flying all around the place as this boombox plays one of the crappiest songs they've ever heard, terribly mixed, the worst lyrics, basically saying that Brent sucks and that she should be in love with him, and he's bouncing around, and then after 5 whole excruciating minutes, and everyone at this point is laughing and trying to hold themselves together, after 5 whole long excruciating minutes of the worst music ever and some like really bad air guitar and bouncing around, the song stops and the emo kid says, Emily, it is clear who you shall choose. What is your verdict? And Emily's like, I'm sorry, I don't know you. I'm not going out with you. Emo kid's like, that's hilarious. What's your actual verdict? Emily's like, dude, I don't know you. He's like, dude, that's hilarious. What's your actual verdict? And Brent's like, all right, man, that's enough. Let's concede while we're behind. The emo kid looks at Brent and says, this isn't over, man. And he walks away with his boombox. And Brent's like, why did he say that to me? I didn't dump him. And Emily's like, dude, that was worse than I could have ever imagined. And right, so Robin, the friend who warned them, came over again and said, look, I should have warned you about that. I didn't think it was real. I didn't even think that was actually going to happen. I was told earlier this morning and I laughed. I'm so sorry. I should take anything that you hear about this kid seriously from this point on because, oh my God. And Emily's like, wait. Oh no, we still have an activity tonight, this afternoon. And Brent's like, oh my God, he said this isn't over. And sure enough, it was far from over. So they get to the activity that afternoon. So it was probably the worst possible activity that it could have been because it was small groups of charades. They kind of ran out. They had something else planned, but since it started to rain, they had to go inside. So they're like, all right, we're going to break you off into small groups of 3. And we're going to have you play charades with each other. And at this point, they're like, okay, what are the odds? Brent's like, what are the odds that I'm put with? And the person says, Brent, Emily, and emo kid. And Brent's like, you got to be joking, man. You got to be joking. Apparently, right, Robin tells him this, later on, once the camp is over. Apparently, because she was talking with one of the camp counselors about everything that went down. The camp counselor said that, once, it started to rain, the emo kid went up to them and asked what they were doing. Camp counselor said, oh, we're doing small groups of charades. And the emo kid requested that his 2 best friends and him were put together in a group. So it wasn't just random, it was the emo kid. But Brent didn't know that at the time. So Brent looks at Emily, and Emily looks at Brent. And they're both basically just like, oh boy. And then they both look at the emo kid, who has a massive smile on his face. So all 3 of them go away to a corner. And the emo kid's like, Emily, I might have came on too strong. And she's like, well, that's an understatement. But he's like, I will show you the truth. Brent, I challenge you to an alpha battle. Brent's just like, what's an alpha battle? Ha! You're such a beta for not knowing what an alpha battle is. Beta. He's like, an alpha battle will be proof that I am alpha and you are a weak beta. And then Emily will choose me. And Emily's like, I'm not. And he's like, wait, your heart will tell you otherwise after the alpha battle. Emily's like, okay, I'm still not going to. She's like, God, stop, silence, woman. And Brent was like, whoa, chill out, dude. He's like, you silence too? We're having an alpha battle right now. So, right, this just kind of looks like they're doing really weird charades from afar, but the emo kid is like, all right, let's form our best wolf poses. Brent's like, what? He said, form your best wolf poses now. And emo kid, Brent's like, all right. Ooh, emo kid's like, that is the worst wolf pose I've ever seen. You were definitely not part wolf like I am. And the emo kid does this really weird pose. He's like, oh my God, I'm wolfing so hard right now. This is the most emo thing. I mean, the most, the most alpha thing I've ever done. Oh my God. At this point, Emily's like, guys, you are both embarrassing yourselves. Emo kid is like, no, you will see that I'm the most alpha. I swear. Emo kid's like, all right, let's do it. Wrestle me. And, Brent's like, what? Emo kid jumps on top of him, just tackles him to the ground. Because he's like 20 pounds heavier, right? And a little bit taller. And Brent was completely taken off guard. He's like, bro, stop. What are you doing? And the emo kid's like, I'm out alphaing you. That's when the camp counselor comes over and says, all right, guys, break it up. Tears the two of them apart. He's like, all right, so we're only doing this for 20 more minutes, but it looks like you two can't keep off of each other, so I'm going to be joining your group. Imagine how awkward this is. It is Emily, Brent, the emo kid, and a random camp counselor. So they do normal charades, right? And the entire time, the emo kid is like sneaking in punches to Brent's arm. He's like, ow. And when the camp counselor looks up, the emo kid puts his arms behind his back. And the emo kid's like, this isn't over, man. And then the emo kid walks over to Emily. He's like, tss, tss, Emily, tss. Emily's like, what? Do you think I'm more alpha? Shut up, kid. Emo kid's like, no. Okay, I'll just be direct. Do you want to go out with me? No! And the camp counselor was like, guys, silence while I'm doing charades. And Emily's like, dude, I don't want to go out with you. How many times do I need to tell you this? Emo kid's like, but I'm definitely more alpha. She's like, that's not a real thing. So the next day rolls around. It's Thursday. And that afternoon, there's no real activity. It's just known as like the soccer dance or whatever. And during the soccer dance, there's one coveted slow song where anyone who has feelings for each other might ask for like a slow song or something. And sure enough, let's just jump to the dance because the emo kid is like being a jerk to Brent all day, but that's not anything new. And sure enough, it is the dance. And they're putting on normal songs. And Emily and Robin and Brent are all together like, dude. And Robin's like, dude, the emo kid is definitely going to try and get that slow song with you. Like, Brent, you got to swoop in right away. Because at this point, Brent and Emily were, like, unofficially a thing. They're only at camp for a week, so they're not going to make, like, a long-term relationship. Let's have kids, baby. Okay, you know what I mean. But sure enough, the slow song comes on. And Brent's like, oh my God. And Emily's like, quickly. And you can see the emo kid sprinting from the other side of the room. So Emily and Brent quickly like get together in the slow song, kind of like whatever. And Emily's standing there and she feels Brent being ripped off of him. And the emo kid grabs Brent, rips him off Emily and tackles him on the ground. And this is what the camp counselors are like, oh, okay, foul play. They go in, they grab the emo kid and they like run it, like they take him off. They're like, all right, buddy, this is like your third strike and you are out. So they call up the parents of the emo kid. They say, your son can't come tomorrow. He's like fighting this one kid again and again and he won't stop. And so sure enough, the emo kid was picked up, taken away, and Brent and Emily finished off with the slow song together. The next day rolls around. It is Friday. It is only a half day where basically the parents come and watch a little like soccer presentation that all the kids have done. And by the end of it, right, most people are packing up. Brent and Emily are gone. And you remember the friend Robin from the beginning? One of the camp counselors and Robin were like friends or whatever, or like friendly. And the camp counselor's like, do you happen to know about that like emo looking kid? Like, do you happen to know what was up with him? And let's call the first subscriber who submitted this story Hank. By the way, all these episodes are on Spotify, and they normally come out a couple hours early on Spotify, so make sure to check that out. First link in the description. Anyways, back to the story. So we're going to call the first subscriber who submitted the story Hank. And anyways, this all happened when Hank was shopping at the mall. So Hank used to always go to the mall to shop with his friends. It was just a fun place to hang out. They didn't really have a lot of other places that they could go in the town that they lived in, so the mall was probably their best bet. And sure enough, one of these days, one of Hank's friends wanted to shop at this place called Hot Topic. If you don't know, Hot Topic's a place where they have a lot of t-shirts and other kind of apparel that is very I don't know, like fast fashion-y, brand centric. Like it's very much like you'll have a lot of different brands, or kind of like you'll find a lot of band t-shirts, a lot of kind of like, okay, so a lot of different stuffs at Hot Topic, but one kind of theme of clothing that you'll see at Hot Topic is emo style clothing, if that makes sense. So like really black clothing, edgy clothing, stuff like that. And just so you know, like I have nothing against it if you dress like that. I think it's a cool enough style. I think you're fine if you, even if you identify as like, oh, I'm emo in the way I dress or act or whatever. I don't really care. Live your life. However, as long as you don't act like the kids in these videos, especially this one, you're chill with me. But anyways, Hank just was like, okay, man, like you want to go to Hot Topic, that's fine. Hank hadn't really been in that much, so he didn't really know what to expect. So Hank was walking into the Hot Topic, and he was looking around, and there's a whole host of people. And Hank's friend was like, all right, man, like I'm gonna go to the back of the room. I know what I want. I'm gonna go in their skateboard section. You can kind of just wander around here. I'll be out when I'm done. So Hank was totally fine with this, and Hank kind of like was wandering around, and he walked over to one of the t-shirt aisles, or one of the t-shirt rack aisles, and that's when he accidentally bumped into this kid. And this kid turns around. And just to paint the picture, this kid has super long black hair. He's got like black mascara on, black lipstick. He's got black painted nails. He's got a spiky collar. He's got like a black band t-shirt. He's got like long black jeans, and then those like big black stomper boots. I don't know if you know what I know, like if you know what I mean, but like those big, kind of like those big rubber black boots that are pretty popular right now. And he turns around and he's like, dude, what the heck, bro? And Hank's just like, all right, my fault. Like, I didn't mean to bump into you like that. I was just looking around and wasn't paying attention. And the emo kid's like, dude, you're like, shut up, bro. Hank's kind of just looking at him like, I don't really know what you mean. Like, I didn't do anything. Like, are you good? And the emo kid's like, bro, like, I don't need to hear that sass from you, bro. Like, I really just don't need to hear that. And Hank says once again, like, dude, I don't know what you're saying. Like, I'm sorry. I'll just go the other way. And Hank kind of turns around to de-escalate because he doesn't feel like, escalating anything. It's just not a good idea to get into fights like that. And that's when the emo kid's like, yeah, you would run. You're dressed like one of those jocks anyways. Which, like, Hank kind of turned around because he didn't know what that even means. First of all, I mean, isn't jock a positive thing? Like, I get that there's a bit of a negative connotation of like, oh, you're a dumb jock or something. But I would have thought that like jock would have meant like, oh, you're an athlete, which isn't that a good thing? Like, I'm kind of confused right now. Is that not a good thing? And Hank, kind of turns back. And he's like, dude, like, why? Like, why are you like making a problem with me? I don't have a problem with you. You're kind of the one that's making this into something, because Hank really did believe like I'm not the one doing anything. It's like 100% this guy who's making it something, And the kid's just like, well, like you're just looking like a dumb jock. Oh, isn't that right, guys? And he turns around and there's two other emo kids, and they look very similar to the main emo kid, but they kind of just they're dressed slightly different, but really. I mean, it's funny how, like, I saw this on South Park, but it's funny how, like, nonconformists all dress the same. I'm just like, well, I mean, you are conforming to something, but anyways, right? So the other two kids, the other emo kids are kind of there along too, laughing. And, Hank is starting to, like, get upset by this because he doesn't really care about, like, these random kids, what they think, except, he's got three kids standing there pointing at him, laughing in his face when Hank didn't deserve it. Like, Hank was thinking, like, look, if I deserve this, if I was being, like, an absolute, like, if I was being a jerk to them, or for some reason I actually did something, sure, maybe I deserve this. But Hank's just thinking to himself, like, dude, I don't deserve this. I was literally just chilling here. I actually bumped into this kid. Like, I'm sorry about that. Like, my fault. Once again, my fault. But that's when Hank turned the tables on the emo kid. And the thing is, right, the emo kid was wearing a band t-shirt. And the thing about band t-shirts is, you don't necessarily need to know everything about some place that you rep, Like if you wear a t-shirt that's from Starbucks and someone's like, okay, well then name all the flavors of like cappuccino you can get. It doesn't have to be like that. But the thing is, a lot of people wear band t-shirts because the band t-shirts look sick, and they don't know any of the songs from the band, which, you know, I guess is fine. But like at the end of the day, a lot of people will kind of pretend to know it and not actually know it. So, you know, Hank was like, well, screw it, bro. He's like, all right, buddy. And he looks at the main emo kid, and the main emo kid looks at him back. And he's like, all right, buddy, name me 3 songs from that band. And he points to the emo kid's t-shirt. And I don't know, maybe it was like Nirvana or something. Like one of those kind of like t-shirts or whatever, which, and the emo kid looks at him, and he has this kind of look of shock. This look of, oh my God, like you caught me. Kind of the look of like, man got caught in a trap right here type of look. And the emo kid's kind of just like, how about you name me 3 songs from this band, bro? And the emo kid turns to look back at his emo kid friends as kind of like, oh, what's their reaction to that sick burn? And they kind of just look at him blankly. I think the emo kid was kind of expecting he would turn around, he'd look back to his friends, and he'd be like, oh yeah, wasn't that a crazy burn? I totally got them. But his friends look back at him kind of just like, dude, like I don't know how to break it to you, but you didn't get him. So the emo kid turns back around. He's like, I don't need to do anything you say, bro. I'm not going to conform to your standards. And then the 2 emo kids were like, yeah, that's right on, bro. You're so right. And they like dap him up. And Hank at this point he's just so done. He's just like, bro, because he realizes, like, Hank's like, you know what? I'm not going to fight with these kids. These kids are obviously a lost cause. This is not worth my time. So Hank gets up, he turns around, and he kind of says, like, whatever, man, like, go live your life. Hank turns around, starts to walk away, and that's when he feels a tug on his pants. And he turns around, and he sees the emo kid failing to pull down his pants. So basically, the emo kid, he couldn't, like, you know, wanted to, like, he couldn't let Hank just leave by himself. Like, he couldn't let him just do that. So when Hank turned around and started to walk away, the emo kid, like, went to jump and try and pull down his pants to, like, pants him, to embarrass him, to, like, impress his emo kid friends and be like, oh my God, I totally owned him, dude. So at this point, like, Hank is like, dude, stop pulling down my pants, bro. And the emo kid's like, oh, sorry, I just slipped. And he's like, and his emo kid friends laugh along as well. At this point, Hank's getting really annoying. He's like, sorry, bro, like, I'm not into you like that. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, you're trying to pull down my pants. So you're telling me you're not trying to get a peek? And the emo kid's like, dude, it's not like that. I was trying to pants you. And Hank's like, yeah. You wanted to pants me so you could see my bare bottom. Did you really want to see my bare bottom that bad? And at this point, the other 2 emo kids start laughing a little bit. And the main emo kid turns around and he's like, stop laughing, it's not funny. He turns back around, he's like, dude, you don't know what you just did. And the emo kid walks up to Hank with his chest puffed out. He's like, bro, you literally don't know what you just did. You don't know who you're messing with. Okay, I don't know if he started to tear up or anything. But at the exact same time, the mall cop that happened to be like going around the mall to make sure that nothing's like happening looks into the Hot Topic and sees basically this kid walk up to this other kid with his chest puffed out. So the mall cop outside kind of slows down walking and looks inside. And sure enough, right, you know, Hank is like, hey, look, I'm not looking for any trouble. And the emo kid's like, yeah, that's what I thought. You're freaking scared, bro. Don't tell me otherwise. You're freaking scared. And at this point, Hank's like, dude, I'm not scared. It's not like that. I just don't want any trouble. Like, you're not worth my time. And he's like, I am worth your time. I'm worth all of your time plus some because I'm worth more than you, dude. You don't know who you're messing with. At this point, right, the emo kids was really kind of just showing his true colors and being like, I mean, kid's insecure. That's fair enough. He's trying to act all tough in front of his friends. So once again, Hank's like, you know, he turns around and he's like, all right, man. He's like, dude, I'm just not doing this. Once again, have a good life. Hank turns around, and as Hank's turning around, the emo kid is like, in his head, he's like, I can't let this slide. So the emo kid literally raises up his hand and swings on Hank. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment emo down below. I just want to see how many people made it to the end of this video, as I do appreciate you guys. Best way to support the channel, as always, is just watch a bunch of the videos. The more watch time you give to the channel, the more we get promoted in the algorithm, and I really, really do appreciate it. Let me know in the comment section what you do while watching my videos. I genuinely want to know. Just so you know, all these episodes are on Spotify. It's in the description, the first link. Please rate us 5 stars when you have a chance. If you want to submit these stories, and please do, because, you know, that's how I make these videos, go to my Instagram or Twitter. They're both in the description, but they're also at Connor Pugs. I got a Discord server, link in description, code Connor Pugs for 10% off gamer subs. Let's get back to the story. So Hank, remember, he turns around and Hank's like, dude, I'm not going to deal with you like that. It's not worth my time. So Hank turns around and the emo kid, who's like, I can't let Hank like one up me. Like I can't let this random kid like, you know, kind of like alpha me in front of my emo kid friends or whatever. So as Hank turns around, the emo kid swings on him, takes his fist. The thing is, though, the emo kid's not like a trained, I don't know, fighter or boxer or something. So obviously the emo kid doesn't make contact with Hank. Instead of making contact with Hank, the emo kid nearly misses Hank, and his like right hook goes right through a rack of clothes. The emo kid was really putting his full force into this too. Because once the emo kid misses and whiffs on Hank, the emo kid flies forward into the rack of clothes. So he basically like pushes himself into a rack of clothes, fails to swing on him. The mall cop, however, did see the emo kid try and swing on Hank, so he walks in there. Hank turns around, and he sees the emo kid on the floor in a pile of clothes, and he's just so confused on what happened. And then, Hank turns around the other way to see a mall cop standing in front of him. So Hank's really confused at this moment. He's like, okay, 1 second ago, I turned away from the emo kid. And a second later, the emo kid is sitting like face first in a pile of clothes, and a mall cop is standing above me. Like, this literally makes no sense. And sure enough, the mall cop's like, hey, hold up, everyone. I got to talk to you guys. And the two emo kids, like, from the back, like, they get scared and they literally run off. They disappear into the rest of the story. It's like, hey, you get back here. But also the mall cop didn't really care that much because the two people that he really wanted to talk to were both Hank and the emo kid who swung on him. So the emo kid gets up. He's, like, kind of panting a little bit. He's like, and the mall cop's like, hey, I saw you swing on this kid. I know you didn't make contact, but you did try and swing on this kid. Is 100%. Like, what's going on here? The emo kid's like, dude, I was just defending myself. And at this point, Hank's like, that's not the case. Like this kid and I were kind of talking back and forth. He tried to pull down my pants. I made fun of him for doing that. I turned around and he tried to swing on me. At this point, right, the mall cop kind of witnessed the last 60% of this altercation. So he knows for a fact that he saw the emo kid try and pull down the pants and then have an argument. So the emo kid says, well, after I pulled down his pants, this kid tried to swing on me and I just defended myself. And the thing is, right, that was a mistake for the emo kid because the mall cop had been watching the whole thing. So the mall cop knew for a fact that wasn't the case of what happened. So the mall cop goes on to say, like, dude, I know for a fact that's not what happened. I saw you guys kind of like bickering in the store, and I wanted to make sure that we had no like nonsense going on. Obviously, some nonsense did go on, and I watched the whole thing. I saw you try and pull down this kid's pants. He did not swing on you. I don't know what he said to you that offended you or anything, but it's very clearly that, you're the aggressor here, and I can't have that. So he's like, hey, I'm going to need you to come with me. And the emo kid's like, all right, buddy, go ahead with him. And the emo kid is like looking at Hank and kind of giving him this look of like, come on, bud, like go ahead. He's asking for you. When in truth, the mall cop is not asking for Hank. The mall cop is asking for the emo kid. So the mall cop's like, sorry, man, you must be mistaken. I'm not asking for this guy over here, pointing to Hank. He's like, I'm asking for you. And he points at the emo kid. And the emo kid is so absolutely stunned by this revelation. He's like, at this point, the emo kid is practically speechless. The emo kid is standing there, is just like, you must have some kind of mistake or something. Like, you can't be talking about me. That's insane. Like, there's no way. Like, what do you mean? Hanks is looking at the emo kid with this bit of a smirk, and the mall cop is kind of like, come on, bud. Like, we don't want to have any trouble here. Make this nice and easy for all of us, and just come along with me. And, at this point, the emo kid is looking at Hank and kind of just giving him this look of like, this isn't over, buddy. This isn't over. And Hank is kind of just like, wow, this like a lot just went down the last 5 minutes, because this was like no longer than like 10 minutes of an altercation. And as soon as the mall cop basically drags the emo kid away, his friend comes rushing up to him, and he's like, dude, like, I just checked out the thing I was getting, and in his hand, he had this, like, skateboard thing or whatever. He's like, dude, I just saw, like, a mall cop over here. I saw some kid getting dragged out of the store. Did you happen to see what happened? And Hank just looks at his friend, and is like, did I happen to see what happened? He's like, buddy, I lived what happened. Okay, so we're going to call the subscriber for the next story Bobby. I got a little King the Hill theme going on with these names because I got Bobby and Hank. If you know, you know, and you're cool. Anyway, so Bobby was like hanging out at home one day and one of his friends hits him up. And, Bobby, doesn't see this friend this often because they happen to be going to 2 different schools, even though they live relatively in the same area. They're both in high school and they're both seniors in high school. So Bobby's friend, who we're going to call Ben, actually happens to have a car at this point. And, Bobby's friend Ben hits up Bobby one day and Bobby's just chilling at home and he gets a text from Ben saying, hey, do you want to like hang out today? And Bobby was feeling kind of lazy. So he's like, maybe, like, what do you want to do? His friend's like, dude, I want to go to the skate park. And Bobby in his head, he's like, I don't know if I want to go. Like, this is, I don't know. I don't know, man. I really don't know. And Bobby should have stayed home that day based on what was about to go down, but he didn't because he wanted to see his friend Ben, and he was like, wait, what else am I going to do today? Watch Netflix? I know for a fact by the end of the day, if I'm just sitting here watching Netflix, I'm not going to be a happy camper. So sure enough, Bobby texts him back. He's like, yeah, man, like, I don't got a ride, but if you can pick me up 100%. So sure enough, this friend, I don't know, an hour later, pulls up to Bobby's house and says, hey, man, get in. And, Bobby shows up to the window. He's like, hey, what's up, Ben? Haven't seen you in forever. Just so you know, I don't have a skateboard, just so you're aware. And Ben's like, dude, I got 2 in the back. Don't worry about that. I got you. So sure enough, Ben hops into the car with Bobby. And, they drive, or Bobby hops into the car with Ben. They drive over to the skate park, which is like 15 minutes away from where Bobby lives. And they get out, and, Bobby used to skate a little bit back in the day with his friend. It's been a while, so he's not going to do any tricks or anything like that, but he's just getting along, he's just getting on the board. He's kind of riding around a bit, just getting a little bit of exercise, and mostly he's out there just to hang out with Ben because he hasn't seen Ben in a second, and they used to be really tight. So sure enough, Bobby and Ben are just chilling at the skate park. They're having a good time. They're kind of just living their life, and that's when a very specific-looking group, of these emo kids. They pop out of nowhere, basically, and they just appear at the end of the skate park. So this skate park is pretty big. It's not like a massive one. It's not like where you'd have a professional skater event or something. But it's a pretty big skate park. Like, the city definitely puts some, like, a good amount of bread into making this. So sure enough, they're looking over and they see this group of kids. And this group of kids has, like, a ringleader that's, like, standing in front of the other 2. And he's kind of dressed like they're all dressed like kind of like the other emo kids in the last Storytime. So I'm not going to go ahead and describe them. They're dressed a little bit differently, but it's all kind of the same, if you know what I mean. So sure enough, the kids are just standing at the end of the park. And it's really awkward because, like, Bobby goes over to Ben. He's like, dude, like, see those kids? And Ben's like, yeah, I've just been staring at them. And Ben's like, dude, they just been looking at us for, like, the last, and he checks his watch. He's like, dude, they just been looking at us for, like, the last like, 2 minutes, bro. That's really freaking weird. And, Bobby's like, yeah, man, like, this is kind of weird. I don't totally know, like, what's the deal with all this. Like, do you know what's up with them? And Ben's like, dude, I don't go to this skate park. Like, this is your skate park. And Bobby's like, yeah, I don't really skate anymore, so I don't know. Maybe this is, like, a place they normally go to. Either way, this is kind of weird. Let's just stay on this side, and hopefully they'll stay on their side. And if they come over, hopefully they're cool. Spoiler, they're not cool. Yeah, they're the farthest thing from cool. But anyways, Bobby and Ben try and ignore these kids, as these kids literally, the thing is, these kids, they don't even have they don't even have like a skateboard with them. And you don't need to have a skateboard to hang out at a skate park. A park is a park, and it's a cool place to just hang out with some friends. That's 100% true. However, I will say it is a little weird to like show up in a group of kids or a group of like a bunch of people, stand there and watch other people without saying anything to each other, without doing anything like that. I will say that itself is pretty weird. So sure enough, Bobby and Ben are just kind of standing there like, dude, this is really freaking weird. What's going on? And that's when they look over, and sure enough, they see the emo kids start to walk closer to them. Like, the emo kids were just standing there for a good solid, I would say 10 minutes. And that's when the emo kids start to walk over to Bobby and Ben. And at this point, Ben turns over. He's like, dude, what is up with your neighborhood, bro? Like, why do you always get the weirdos? And Bobby's like, dude, it's not my fault. I don't go here this often. I don't know. And that's when the group of emo kids shows up. And there's like very clearly like, this is going to sound weird, but like an alpha one, like, okay. I'm not trying to use like weird like alpha male terms or whatever. Oh, Connor, which one's the sigma male? Shut up if you say that in the comment section unironically, dude. Actually, shut up. But anyways, sure enough, the kind of like the alpha of the pack, whatever that even means in emo pack words, is like, hey, you two, I need a word with you. And Bobby and Ben kind of just look at each other just like, oh my God, like what's going on here? It's just kind of strange. Ben kind of like whispers over to Bobby like, dude, we are never going back to your park ever again. And Bobby kind of just gives him this look of like, dude, I can't control this. So sure enough, the emo kid, let's just call him the alpha emo kid. No, I can't say that for much longer. The main emo kid, King the Pack or whatever, walks up to them. He's like, bro, do you not know? And Bobby and Ben kind of look at each other, and Bobby speaks up and says, no, like knows what, like no what. The emo kid laughs. He's like, oh, you don't know then. This is our turf, dude. And Bobby and Ben kind of look at each other, and Ben speaks up like, turf? Emo kid's like, yeah, man, you don't understand. This is our turf. And Bobby just means like, what does that even mean? And they're like, dude, you don't want to mess with us. And one of them like legitimately pulls out like a wand. Not like a knife or something, not like actually trying to be intimidating. Like this isn't like, oh, they think they're like actually in a gang or something. This is their turf. They pull out a wand, like a freaking Harry Potter magic wand. And the main emo kid's like, bro, my boy over here knows magic. You don't want to mess with him, dude. And so Bobby and Ben kind of look at these kids, and Ben speaks up. Ben's a little bit more brash. Ben's a little bit more, I don't know, confident is maybe the wrong word, but I'm going to use that word than Bob. Confrontational, that's right. Ben's a bit more confrontational than Bobby is. So Bobby would have been fine literally just going somewhere else. It's not like there's not a lot of other places. I mean, there's not a lot of other places they could go, but it's not like Bobby's a big skater in the first place. He just wanted to hang out with Ben. And Ben literally goes up. He's like, dude, what are you going to do with that little magic wand? You're going to wave it around, put a spell on me? It's this freaking Harry Potter, dude. We don't care. You guys don't have turf. That's ridiculous. Like, look, we're not taking up the whole park. This park's massive. You guys chill over there. We'll do our thing over here. There won't be any trouble. And the emo kid's like, dude, there's going to be trouble if you guys don't leave or at least pay respects. And, Ben at this point's like, the frick you mean pay respects? Like, what is that? Like, what do you even mean by that? And at this point, Bobby's starting to realize that Ben is kind of finding this amusing more than concerning. Bobby's more concerned by this just because they outnumber them like 4-2. And these emo kids definitely like aren't hitting the gym every day. But at the same time, like 4-2, it doesn't matter like how big you are. Like you're not taking them one-on-one. So like Bobby didn't want anything like that. Even if it's that emo kid smoke, he didn't want it in the first place. So sure enough, Bobby kind of looks at Ben and kind of gives him a look of like, hey, like, come on now. And Ben is like, no, I'm going with this. And Ben's like, all right, man, you know what? Put a spell on us, bro. Like, if you honestly, like, you know what? We're going to take the punishment. Put a spell on us. And the main emo kid looks at them and is like, dude, you don't want our smoke like that. You don't want us to, like, drop a spell on you like that, bro. You don't know our power. You don't totally get it. And Bobby is just looking at them. And Bobby's, like, kind of, like, completely freaked out at this point. Not that they're going to actually put a spell on him and, I don't know, curse him or something. Bobby's just so freaked out by everything going on that he just doesn't want anything to do with it. So Bobby is like, I don't know, man. How about we just like, we stay here and you go over there? And the emo kid's like, I'm not talking to you, little boy. Which like Bobby was like so taken aback by this. And Ben was like, you don't call my friend that. Come on, if you're such a big guy, little boy. And at this point, Ben says little boy back to them. If you're not such a big guy, little boy, put a spell on us. And he points to the guy in the back. And there's like a little emo kid in the back with like a little magic wand or something. The main emo kid says, you know what? Gentlemen, I don't want you guys to be seriously hurt. So I'm going to give you one more chance to leave the premises. Or my friend will put a spell on you. And you will be cursed so badly that you will not make it out of this park alive. We have magical powers that you simply don't understand. And Ben is looking at them. And and Bobby is looking at them. And the emo kids are looking back. At this point, it's a classic. It's one of those classic Texas standoffs, like who's gonna shoot first. But instead of shooting, it's either staying there or shooting your magic spells through your wand or whatever. And Ben was like, "All right, no, we're staying here. Put a spell on us. Do it." And the emo kid is like, "Fine, you have sealed your fate." And all of them walk away. At this point, Bobby and Ben look at each other. Bobby's like, "Dude, those kids are weird. Like, I have no idea what's going on." Ben is like, "Really is your neighborhood spawning out the most NPCs in the world, dude? Like, this is crazy." And, Bobby and Ben were probably going to go back and forth a little bit about how weird these kids were, but they were unfortunately interrupted by chanting. So they look over and they see the emo kids, like, holding hands, chanting, like, kind of like going in a circle, like kind of like moving in a circle, holding hands, chanting like demonic tongues. At this point, Bobby's like, "Bro, I'm kind of freaked out." And Ben's like, "Dude, this is a comedy routine. Please, like, chill out." At this point, they do, like, the chanting gets louder and louder. And it's kind of weird. Like, it's really strange. It's like they definitely been rehearsing this. And Bobby admits to me that for a split second, he was thinking, like, dude, what if these kids actually have magic powers? Spoiler, they don't. They're just weird, right? And by the end of the chant, one of the kids comes over. The main one grabs the wand, starts swinging it around, and starts walking over to them. He's like, "One last chance, boys. I'm giving you one last chance to literally survive. I'm giving you one more chance unless you want to, if you want to leave here and see your parents again." And Bobby was just in his head like, "Dude, this kid's legitly weird." And Ben says, "Bring it on, dude. I want to see the worst you have." And Bobby was like, he admits, he was a little bit concerned just because, I don't know, just like the confidence these emo kids had was kind of startling. And the main emo kid's like, "Fine." Takes up his wand. He starts like saying a bunch of like random gibberish and waving his wand in a circular motion, pointing it at Bobby, right? Or at Ben, not Bobby. And Ben, kind of looks at Bobby and gives him a wink. And Bobby knows that, but Ben's about to be up to some mischief. And the kid is like, "Ha-da-da-da, ha-da-da-da, ha-boo!" Or it does like what is very clearly like the final motion. And Ben literally like opens his eyes super wide, clutches his heart, and drops to the ground and doesn't move. Bobby is like a little bit freaked out, but he also remembers that Ben just like gave him a big wink. And you hear all the emo kids, like some of them are in the back like, oh my God, it actually worked. The spell actually worked. And the main emo kid has this look on his face, like the most scared look you've ever seen. The main emo kid was terrified because for a good 30 seconds, the main emo kid actually thought that he just killed this kid from his like magic spell or whatever. So sure enough, the emo kid like drops his wand, rushes up to Ben and is like, no, the spell, it was too powerful. I should have held back. And Bobby's just looking at him. And the emo kids, the other ones, are standing like talking to each other. And they're like frantically talking to each other. They are really concerned about this. They're like, "Dude, do we call the cops? Do we bury the body? Like, what do we do? Like, what if our parents find out?" All this kind of nonsense, right? And that's when you hear giggling. It started as giggling, but then it just evolved into laughter. And that's when Ben flips over and you can see that he's just been laughing. He couldn't hold it in any longer. And he gets up, he's like, oh my God, you fell for it. This is the funniest thing ever. He's like, "Guys, you're not wizards. You're just weird. Go to that side of the park. We're going to be here, and there's nothing you can do about it." And that's when I think the emo kids kind of realized that, they weren't going to scare them out of there, and they definitely were not going to fight them out of there either. So sure enough, the emo kids they don't even say anything. These kids they're kind of done with trying to scare like Bobby and Ben out of there. So they pick up their stuff, they get up, and they leave. And Bobby and Ben, they go back to doing their whatever they were doing before. But it really was just never the same after that, because like for the rest of the day, Ben would just continuously make emo kid jokes and Bobby would laugh and make them back. So in fact, the rest of the day was better than ever before. And this happened a long time ago. Like, this happened like 4 or 5 years ago. And Bobby and Ben actually can't like reunited about a year ago. And literally the only thing they did during their when they reunited was retold this story and made jokes about it the entire time. We're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Sammy. Real quick, I do want to say that if you are a furry or like to dress up as animals, look, I don't personally get it, but I have no hate for you. All love, trust me. As long as you don't do what the people in this video do, you're totally cool in my book. Same thing when I made the video on the crazy dream stand. I don't hate dream stands. I have all the love for you guys, but as long as you don't act like the crazy people in these stories, I like you. So anyways, this all started when one day Sammy was innocently walking down the school hallway. He didn't really think anything of it. I mean, bro was just walking to his hallway in school. It doesn't matter, man. But at the end of the day, Sammy made a huge mistake, apparently. Because Sammy was walking, he wasn't really paying attention, and he bumped into this kid. And this kid, after he bumped into him, turns around. And Sammy was kind of expecting, by the aggression on this kid's face and by the way he whipped around, that this kid was going to be like, watch where you're going, bro. Or he's going to be like, you want to fight, bro? Or I don't know, something like that. But instead, the kid growls at him. Freaking growls like an animal. And all of a sudden, Sammy's just so taken aback. He's like, what? Bro, and the kid is growling at him and staring at him and then turns around and runs away. He doesn't walk away. Emphasis on running away. So Sammy is so confused, but honestly doesn't think much of it because he's like, okay, yeah, sure. It's one weird kid who turned around and growled at me when I bumped into him. Who cares? It's really not a big deal. But sure enough, right, Sammy keeps going, and he goes to class, and life is totally normal. Things are totally normal. And honestly, Sammy doesn't even think about, what just happened earlier in the day. He just thinks about, the class. He's just going day to day. But that's when, after school, he returns to his locker. And he opens up his locker to grab his backpack when he sees a crumpled up ball, a crumpled up piece of paper stuffed in there. It was obviously folded up but crumpled and pushed through the vents of the locker. So sure enough, Sammy looks at it and thinks okay, I don't remember putting this here. Perhaps it fell out of my backpack. Let me open it up to see what it is, just to make sure that I'm not going to throw out or lose something important, I don't know, notes from class or something like that. And he opens it up, and in really crude handwriting, in black Sharpie, it says, "You have disrespected the Wolf Brotherhood. You shall now pay." And Sammy was like, huh? Is this some kind of joke? Is this some kind of mistake? And for some reason, once he read that, and once he read Wolf Brotherhood, that immediately made a connection in his brain to the time when, 3 hours ago, when he bumped into some kid and growled at him. And immediately Sammy's like, all right, there's no way that kid growling at me has any connection to this weird letter. This weird letter is probably just, I don't know, unrelated or something like that. But Sammy was really just weirded out by this letter, and he just keeps looking at it. It says, "You have disrespected the Wolf Brotherhood?" The Wolf Brotherhood. He's like, what? I'm so confused. What is this? Remember, so Sammy's in 7th grade for context. This isn't I don't know, they're adults or something in college, and it's actual a serious thing. Obviously, the Wolf Brotherhood is something corny, but he's like, what on earth could this be? So the next day is Friday, and literally nothing happens that day, except at lunch, one of the kids Sammy asks, the people at the table, and is like, I know this is going to be strange, but I got to ask, does anyone know what the Wolf Brotherhood is? And his friend laughs and looks at him and is like, bro, what are you talking about? And everyone kind of just says no, except one kid at the end of the table speaks up and says, hey, I don't know much, but I know a little bit. And Sammy's like, what? He's like, yeah, I think I've heard it thrown around once or twice before. It's not an official student organization, but it's some kind of unofficial club that some kids made or something. I don't really know. And Sammy's like, well, and then he reaches into his backpack and pulls out the now neatly folded letter, and he unfolds it, and he shows it all crumpled, and it says, "You have disrespected the Wolf Brotherhood, and you shall now suffer the consequences." Sammy shows this around. He's like, I received this in my locker yesterday. And everyone around the table is kind of like, sorry, bro, that's really weird. Don't get me wrong. We agree that that's kind of sus, but we know nothing about it. So the next day is Saturday, and it's not school. So Sammy's pretty excited that, it's the weekend, so he decides that he's going to go to the park. And the plan is for him and his friend to go over to the park around 2. And, Sammy, is walks from his house and walks over to the park. And the park has, like, a swing set, a bunch of trees. It has a slide. It has, like, a place for bike racks. It's a really big park, and it's a pretty cool place to hang out. And Sammy looks down at his phone, and he sees a text from his friend saying, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry. I can't make it." And Sammy's like, "Oh, okay, fine, whatever." And that's when Sammy is about to leave when he sees someone sitting on the swing set at the farthest part of the park. So it's a pretty big park, but he can look all the way down there, and he sees someone in a black hoodie. But here is where things get weird. He notices that something is wrong with this person. Something is not usual. What was that thing, you might be asking? Well, Sammy looked closely, and he's looking at it, and he's like, that can't be. Like, that can't be. What did Sammy see exactly? He saw a blue tail, like one of those like things you get on Amazon that like kids might put on like their backs, and they walk around with like a fake tail or something, dressing up as a fox or wolf or some kind of animal. And at this point, right, the person gets off the swing and turns around. And Sammy can't see like what their face really looks like because they have like sunglasses on and they have a black hoodie pulled down. But the person is very clearly walking towards Sammy. Not running towards Sammy, but walking towards Sammy. So Sammy's like, okay, this is very strange. And Sammy turns around and starts walking back to his house. And this is when Sammy starts to feel uncomfortable again because he looks to his left, right? Because now he's walking on the road back to his house. And you know how there's like one side of the sidewalk and then the other side of the sidewalk, and then there's a road in between. On the other side of the sidewalk, there's another person in a gray hoodie this time. And Sammy's like, okay, just a coincidence. And that's when Sammy takes like a quick glance at the person over on the other side, and he sees this weird pink thing dangling between their legs. Stop being weird in the comments, you guys. Don't say it. Don't say it. It was a tail. Anyways, there's a big like furry tail type thing. And at this point, Sammy's like, hell nah, bro. I'm not doing this. This is way too weird. And Sammy starts to power walk. But the thing is, as Sammy starts to walk faster, these guys pick up the pace as well. Sammy's not about to run because he doesn't want to get like exhausted or something and then, have to, get caught by these guys because he has no idea what's going on. These also don't look like adult men. They look like kids about his age. And I mean, they have fur tails on, so they're probably not going to be like, I don't know, CEO of Apple and Microsoft secretly have furry tails on or something. But sure enough, right, Sammy's looking. And he sees, like, these kids. And now at this point, just so you know, the guy in the black hoodie is behind Sammy, pretty significantly far behind, but still behind him, but on his side of the sidewalk. And sure enough, right, Sammy's just like, oh, my God, like what, who, why? Like, who is this? What could this be? And that's when Sammy remembers. That's when Sammy remembers the letter he got and couldn't figure out. He said, yeah, what was it? What was it? Wolf Brotherhood. And he looks over and he's like, I'm pretty sure wolves have tails? Maybe? He's like, you know what? This is way too much of a coincidence. These guys are obviously after me. And then Sammy's like, you know what? I don't actually know if these guys are after me. I'm going to like make a sharp turn and then hide. So this was kind of a risky move by Sammy, but he decided that he was going to do it anyways. So Sammy quickly makes a left-hand turn around the corner. So for a brief, 30 seconds, both the gray hoodie and the black hoodie wouldn't be able to see him. Instead of continuing to walk, Sammy jumps into someone's yard, jumps into one of their bushes, and hides. But as Sammy's looking out, the gray hoodie and the black hoodie. The gray hoodie crosses the street, and the gray hoodie and the black hoodie both turn the same corner that Sammy was turning. They stop walking, they start looking around, and then they start talking with each other. And Sammy's close enough to hear little fragments of what they're saying. They're saying, blah, 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 Sammy, blah, 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 can't find him, blah, 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 Wolf Brotherhood. So at this point, right, Sammy knows the two things. That one, these kids were following him, and they were after him. And second of all, that they have some relation if they are not, the Wolf Brotherhood themselves, right? So Sammy is just like, this is so freaking weird, I don't know what to do. And he waits there, and he's just waiting there until, the guys, eventually they get up and they leave because they can't find Sammy anymore. So Sammy eventually gets out and just walks home as quickly as possible, completely completely freaked out at this point. Completely freaked out. So he walks on home, he gets back home, and he calls up his friend. His friend's like, yo, dude, like, sorry I couldn't make it out of the park. And Sammy's like, probably a good thing. You're not going to believe what I just witnessed. So Sammy tells the story to this kid. And yeah, sure enough, this, Sammy's friend's like, oh my God, like, dude, that's insane. Like, that's not normal. And Sammy's like, bro, I don't know what to do about this. And Sammy's friend's like, man, like, I don't know what to tell you, like, advice-wise, but just be careful, man. Like, just be careful is all I'm trying to say. And he's like, you know what, man? I'm going to start asking around for my friends and see if any of them happen to know anything about, like, I don't know, this fox or wolf cult thing you were telling me about. Like, I don't totally, like, I don't think it's something, but, like, I don't know. I'll ask around. So sure enough, Sammy's friend's now in the case, and he's going to ask around. And Sammy's like, you know what? I'm just going to get my mind off of this. Tomorrow, I'm going to go to the mall and just hang out there. And Sammy felt a little bit safer at the mall than, like, at a random park with no one there, just because, like, other people were there. So the next day, Sammy walks over to the mall, and he's very paranoid walking over. And he's, like, looking over his shoulder. He's kind of looking around, but he plans to meet up with someone at the mall. So Sammy walks over about 5 minutes, and he gets to the mall. He sees his friend out there. They link up, and they start walking around. They walk to different stores or whatever, and they do what you do in the mall. And after a while, Sammy's friend's like, all right, man, I got to go. My mom's here. She's coming to pick me up. And Sammy's like, okay, well, I think I'm going to stay here a little bit longer. So Sammy's friend leaves, gets picked up by his mom, and Sammy walks into a clothing store. In this clothing store, it's really big, it's really wide, and there's a lot of, like, shelves. There's a lot of, like, racks and racks and racks of clothing, and it goes really far back. So Sammy is just, like, kind of, like, sifting through the clothes. He's kind of just looking around. And he's going through, and that's when, all of a sudden, he sees someone. He sees someone next to him who's kind of just standing there, not necessarily doing anything, but someone who's looking at their clothes, looking through clothes or whatever. And that's when he looks. And he looks at this person. And something just feels off, right? They're not, like, approaching him, but they're standing like in the corner of the store looking through clothes. And, he's just like, I gotta look. So sure enough, Sammy takes a peek, and yes, they have a red tail dangling between their legs. Sammy is so freaked out, he immediately turns and power walks out of the store. And he looks behind him, and the person, now in a blue hoodie with the red tail, has turned around and is starting to walk towards him. Sammy is completely freaking out. This is much bigger than he ever expected. And things are only about to get worse from here. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment furry down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. And if you want to continue supporting the channel or just support the channel in general, just keep watching videos after this one, or at some point, just watch a bunch of videos in a row. Basically, the more videos on my channel that you watch, it gives me more minutes watched. Like, the more minutes you watch, the more it helps me out. And I'm actually genuinely curious what you guys are doing while watching these videos. And a lot of people recently have been telling me that, it helps them go to sleep. And if that's the case, let me just direct you to the playlist section on my channel. It'll help you guys watch videos, like, in a bunch in a row. And just so you know, if you want to submit stories of your own, go to my Instagram. It's in the description. It's Connor Pugs, and there you can submit stories. Make sure you're following me. And also, all these videos, every single video I post will be up on Spotify within 2 to 3 hours after it's posted on here. So if you want to listen to these things on Spotify, if you're, like, working out or you're doing something where you can't have a YouTube video playing, I highly suggest you go to my Spotify linked in the description. Make sure you're subscribed, leave a like, and let's just get back into the story as it's about to get crazy. So Sammy is power walking out of the store, and he's walking as quickly as he can to the mall exit. And that's when, he passes by a store, and he catches a glimpse of someone standing, and sure enough, they have a blue thing dangling. And sure enough, it is a blue tail. So as Sammy passes by someone, he immediately sees, like, someone walk out of a store and starts following him too. And that happens with another and another and another. Now there are 5 whole people that have come out and they're stalking Sammy at this point. 5 people are walking after Sammy with, these blue or red or whatever tails, in between their legs, and they're walking faster and faster, and they're gaining ground, and it's not looking good for Sammy. Sammy starts dodging around, and he goes into a store, which kind of sounds like a death trap. You're like, why would you go into one exit? But the thing is, he knew that the store was big and complicated, but also there was an exit that didn't turn on the fire alarm. Because a lot of times, if you go into one of these stores and you go out their exit or whatever, it's going to have a fire alarm. But Sammy knew in the way back there's an exit where the fire alarm is disabled, and you could leave it without setting anything off. So Sammy walks into a store, and 30 seconds later, the 5 furry people walk in as well, trying to chase him down. And so sure enough, right after a little while of doing this, Sammy's going through, he's looking around, he finds the exit, he bursts out of it. At this point, he can't keep on, he knows that he has a little window of probably about a minute before they figure out that he left through this exit, or maybe they don't, but maybe they do, right? So Sammy's like, all right, I know what I gotta do. Anyways, right, so at this point, Sammy is gaining some ground or whatever. He's actually getting some distance, and he just starts running. And, he runs and runs. He runs all the way back home, and he gets to his house. His mama's gone for the day or something, so he gets in there, locks the door, runs up to it, make sure it, goes around to make sure that everything on the first floor is locked, runs all the way up to his room, and just, looks out the window. And it's like, okay, there's no way that those kids saw, I outran them. They're probably still in the mall. They probably have no idea where I am. Yada, yada. I'm totally fine. Things are okay. And in the middle of thinking that, he sees 5 individuals in hoodies and furry tails walking down his street. And he's just thinking to himself, oh my God, there is absolutely no way that this is true. There's no shot that this is actually happening. This is not real life. And he's looking, and these 4 furry guys are walking, and in unison they all turn and they're staring at his window. He immediately ducks down and kind of then after a couple seconds peeks back up, and he just sees these 5 furry guys staring at his house. And he's like, oh my God, this is actually intense. This is one of the most insane thing ever. After about 2 to 3 minutes of them just staring there, they all turn in unison again and walk away. So once again, Sammy gets out his phone, calls up his friend, and is like, dude, I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think I can deal with this. This is way too insane. And his friend's like, dude, this is so crazy. I was talking to people all last night, telling them your story, trying to figure it out. And only one person said that they heard it was a weird kid club or something, but they didn't know much about it other than that. So the next day comes around, and it's now Monday, and Sammy goes into class. And Sammy's like, you know what? That's fine. I'm safe in school. Things are totally okay. As long as I'm surrounded by people, these weirdos can't come after me in public. So Sammy goes to his locker, and he sees another crumpled up piece of paper, right? And he's like, oh my God, there's no way. And he goes in, and he opens up the piece of paper, and it says, this is only the beginning. Signed for Wolf Brotherhood. And he's like, no, this is only the beginning. Oh my God, these guys are crazy. These guys are insane, man. And right, sure enough, he's just like, okay. Folds up the letter, puts it in his backpack. He's trying to collect some evidence just in case. And, he goes to his first period class. He is totally tweaking out. He's feeling super weird. He is just stressed out beyond belief. And oh my God, this is where it gets weird. And he's watching, and he sees someone, he sees one of these kids walking to class that he's not really friends with and normally sits in the back. And the kid is wearing a hoodie, right? And this kid is now the first time ever coming into class with a red furry foxtail. And Sammy freezes up because he's like, oh my God, that's one of the kids that was stalking me. This is one of the kids that was stalking me. This is crazy. And the kid sits, literally takes the seat right behind Sammy. And Sammy is so uncomfortable right now. He is so weirded out. He's like, oh my God. This is so scary. This is so crazy. And the teacher starts teaching class. And that's when he feels the furry kid behind him, scoot up a little closer. And then he feels the furry kid. He just feels the vibrations of the kid getting out of his seat and going onto all fours. And he's like, what? Bro, what are you doing? and he turns around, and the furry kid grabs his hand and puts his entire hand into his mouth and bites down. At this point, like, Sammy's like, oh my God. And the teacher, like, kind of yells it out. The teacher looks over, and he sees this kid on all fours chewing on Sammy's hand. Thankfully, he didn't break any skin, because Lord knows this kid has, like, 3,000 diseases in his mouth or whatever, and his saliva would basically be as toxic as a king cobra. But sure enough, right, the teacher's like, Xavier, stop that right now. Let's just call the kid Xavier. And the teacher goes over and basically pulls Xavier off of Sammy. And he's like, what's going on? And Sammy's like, I don't know. This kid just bit me. And, she's like, Sammy, go to the school nurse. And Xavier, like, go to the principal's office. I will be sending up a note to make sure that you make it there and to tell him what you did. And sure enough, right, Sammy goes over to the nurse's office. And they look at his hand and they're like, wow, what happened here? Did, like what's going on? And Sammy had to explain that a crazy furry in class tried to devour him. And the nurse was like, you know what? I'm not going to ask any more clarifying questions. I'm good with just that, like, no offense, but we're going to keep it at that. So the nurse is making sure he doesn't have any wounds, kind of just, like, sanitizes the area anywhere. It's like, do you want any bandages? He's like, no, that's fine. And so anyways, when Sammy's done, he doesn't go back to class. He goes to a room. He goes to, like, some kind of printer, grabs a piece of printer paper, goes in his backpack, takes out a pen, and writes down a note saying, Dear, like, Wolf Brotherhood, I propose a truce. If, like, meet me at the basketball park or net, or the basketball court after school, 5 minutes after school. He takes his letter and he puts it on his locker. And he folds it up a little bit, but he puts it on his locker because he assumes that they're going to go by again. And sure enough, by the time, the bell rings and Sammy goes to his locker, he sees the note is gone. And inside his locker, there's a piece of paper, and he opens it up, and it reads, we will be there at that time. See you then, Wolf Brotherhood, right? So he was like, all right, finally, I'm going to meet these guys. So anyways, right, Sammy is a little nervous, and he walks out to the basketball court, and he sees 5 people in hoodies and tails standing there. And he's like, oh my God, this is actually low-key kind of scary, bro. I'm low-key kind of scared. And sure enough, right, he's like kind of like freaking out. He's kind of sweating a little bit, and he walks over, and he hears, hello there, Sammy. Welcome to the Wolf Brotherhood. Immediately by the sound of this guy's voice, he was no longer scared. And they all take off their hoodies. And, like, some of them have fox ears on. Other of them have, like, super long emo black hair. Like, they're definitely not, like, it's not like Mike Tyson at his prime in the ring. Like, you're okay. Like, I'm definitely not too scared by their appearances. Don't judge a book by its cover, but in this case, yes, do it. So sure enough, the kids are like, it seems that the Wolf Brotherhood has scared you quite well enough, Sammy. And Sammy's like, yeah, you guys are weird, it's really weird. Like, one of your kids, like, tried to bite me. And they're like, yes, that was a Wolf Brotherhood performing a wolf bite attack. Sammy's like, yeah, it was really weird. You guys are strange. And they're like, so, you want a truce because you lost to the Wolf Brotherhood. And Sammy in his head is like, okay, these are a bunch of geeks, but, like, they also have literally no life. So if I say no, then they're going to keep stalking me and being weird. And Sammy's like, yeah, I'd like a truce. Like, I don't know why you guys were after me in the first place. And one kid steps up, he's like, I see you don't remember our battle a couple of weeks ago. And Sammy's like, dude, what are you saying? He's like, you don't remember our battle in the hallway? Sammy's like, oh, wait, yeah, you were the kid who I bumped into accidentally, and you were, like, hissing or growling at me. He's like, yeah. We needed revenge for that. He's like, oh, well, it was an accident, man. I'm sorry. And they're like, there are no accidents. Trying to be all like, I don't know, ancient wisdom type deal or something. But they just kind of sounded like cringe. And sure enough, right, Sammy's like, all right, well, I'm sorry. Can there be a truce? And they're like, council, unite. And the 5 of them kind of like huddle in a circle. Sammy's like, dude, I swear to God, if they come out with some BS or something, they're like, actually, we need $500 from you, and then we'll let you go. Like, trying to do some actual extortion type stuff. But they, eventually, they go back to standing in a row of 5, and they're like, you should be grateful that the council of the Wolf Brotherhood is so generous. we have granted you immunity in our land. And Sammy's like, wait, your land? And they say, yes, the park, the playground, and the local mall are Wolf Brotherhood territory. You were enemy number 1 for a while, but now you are on the safe travelers list. Have a good day, Sammy. The next day, Sammy's sitting at lunch with his friends, and his friends are dying to know what was happening, because his friend told everybody about what happened. Let's call the subscriber who submitted the first story Lucas. By the way, you can submit your own stories to me on Instagram or Twitter. They're both in the description. Just submit them to my DMs. That's all you got to do. So anyways, I'm not going to cut that out. I'm trying to keep this interesting. So anyways, Lucas was in, we're going to say he was in the 5th grade. I know that he was younger. I don't know exactly how old he was, but this is very 5th grader type something, you know? So Lucas was in the 5th grade, and Lucas, sorry about that. Lucas had some friends, and one of the friends we're going to call Ben. And Ben was the kid who did the thing in the title of this video, and probably the reason why you clicked into this video, because it is so ridiculous. It is literally so ridiculous. But anyways, sparkling water, by the way. I don't drink adult lemonade or anything like that. So sure enough, you know, they're all sitting around one day, and they were getting tests handed back to them. And this teacher was not nice to them. I don't know if you guys have had teachers like this, but for example, my stats class last year, the average of a midterm was a 68. And I was like, okay, we're getting a curve, right? Of course we're getting a curve. Coming to class, the teacher says, I'm satisfied with how that went. He's satisfied with the average being basically a fail. He said no curve. So I feel for this person, right? Because it's Lucas and all of his friends. They're sitting around and they get their tests back and the results aren't good. But specifically, Ben did not get the result he wanted. I mean, Ben practically failed the test. I think he actually did. He probably did actually fail, not just practically failed. But yeah, so Ben failed. Everyone else practically failed. Lucas did way below what he wanted, and always to an extent, it's on you. But also in this case, it very much felt like the teacher was, doing this to them on purpose for some reason, right? And, so not Tommy, that's the guy in the next story. Ben, Lucas, and all of his other friends were sitting around at lunch. And, Ben, who got, the failing grade and was extra upset, started to go off about how, Mr. Davenport, we'll call the teacher Mr. Davenport, because I always call the secondary character Ben and the teacher Mr. or Mrs. Davenport. Oh, Mr. Davenport's so mean to me. He just, he always gives me the worst grades. He's always giving all of us the worst grades. We got to get back at him. We got to, prank him somehow. And all the other kids, including Lucas, the subscriber who submitted this story, kind of was just no, dude, we don't need to do that. We really don't need to do that. That's, yes, if I was in 2nd grade, whatever, we put a, whoopee cushion under his chair and then get, suspended for a day or something. I don't know. But they say now, you know what? We just got to do well in this class. It's just one of these classes we just got to, buckle down and do well in. Sure, he's a very annoying grader. We don't like him as a teacher. But basically, all the kids came to the conclusion of, no, we can't prank him. That's only going to get us in more trouble, which I 100% agree. It's going to feel good for a second, and then you're just going to be in so much more trouble. It's just not worth the headache. And everyone was saying, okay, that's a good idea. Everyone except Lucas. Everyone besides Lucas was 100% convinced. And today, just so you know, was a Friday. And they were all having a big sleepover that Saturday night. It's important for you guys to know that all the kids sitting around are friends. Lucas, Ben, and some other kids. So let's skip ahead to Saturday night. And Lucas gets a text from Ben saying, hey man, I don't even know if I can show up to the sleepover tonight. And Lucas was like, oh man, what's good? Why can't you show up? And he's like, my mom's so upset with the grade that she's considering I have to stay in on the weekends to go just do my, sorry. I have to stay in on weekends just to do my homework the entire time or whatever. And Ben says, hey, but my dad's fighting for me, so we'll see how it goes. It turns out that, after talking for a while, Ben's dad is able to convince Ben's mom that, depriving him of time with his friends, especially just over one poor test grade when, Ben was very clear that he says, oh, everyone did poorly and the teacher's a jerk, right? Ben's mom wasn't happy about it, but she decided that depriving her kids time of human interaction probably wasn't going to solve the problem, which I've never understood when parents are like, oh my God, you're doing so terrible. Yeah, maybe if you're hanging out with people who are like, let's actually, I don't know, let's not do homework. Let's skip school all the time. Sure, fine. But most cases, depriving your kid of like human interaction is not going to, give them, the state where they're going to do all their homework or something like that. So anyways, what's important is that Ben does show up to the sleepover eventually. And, so they all, the big thing about the sleepover was that none of them were allowed to watch South Park. I don't know if you guys have seen South Park before, but it's a show, and I wasn't allowed to see it for a very long time because there's a lot of stuff in it that I can understand why my mom was like, nah, you're not seeing that. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. It's fine. I get it. And these kids were not allowed to see South Park. They were in 6th grade or 5th grade or something. And they all decided that at the sleepover that they were all gonna watch South Park, and it was gonna be like the best thing ever. And they were gonna do it when the parents went to bed, and they were gonna sneak downstairs or whatever, right? And so sure enough, it's time. They go downstairs. It's it's nighttime. The parents have gone to bed. It's Lucas, Ben, and all of his friends. They turn on the TV. They turn it up like one volume bar, but they don't turn it up all the way because they don't want to get caught. And sure enough, they go on Comedy Central at the right time, and an episode of South Park is playing. It's very important that I add this detail because a very specific episode is playing this day. If you don't know, there's a character in South Park called Cartman. Cartman is not the greatest role model. And this is the episode where Cartman craps on the desk, which inspires what is to happen next. So basically, you don't need to know everything that happened, but Cartman, trying to get himself in trouble, he wants to get out of class and be held in detention, is very desperate to do so, walks up on his teacher's desk and craps all over it. And he's like, craps on your desk, like, I just crapped on your desk, what are you gonna do about it? And he gets in trouble, of course. And the problem was, most of the kids there understood that that's ridiculous. Don't do that to your teacher. Please don't watch this video and then go on to do something like that, please. It's all I ask. It's the bare minimum, guys. Come on now. And but the one person who didn't understand that, who thought it was the greatest thing he's ever seen, was Ben. Remember, Ben was the most angry at his teacher for giving him a bad grade. Ben was the one who wanted to seek revenge. And revenge, Ben will seek, because now he has a plan. Now he understands what he must do. So while watching this, Ben casually says, wouldn't this be hilarious if one of us did this to Mr. Davenport? Like, he would totally deserve it. And all the kids were laughing. They were like, yeah, dude, you're totally right. Not actually agreeing with them. You know when your friend says something like insane and you disagree to it because it's like funny? Of course, it's not actually, like, you don't actually expect they're going to do that. You just think it's funny, right? You just think it's funny. So everyone was like, yeah, well, that'd be hilarious. Not actually expecting Ben to be like, okay, that's a great idea. Okay, let's skip to Monday. This is where things start to get really interesting. So sure enough, it is Monday, and it is class time. And the teacher, Mr. Davenport, starts talking about how everyone didn't do so well in the last exam, and that, that's, we're going to work on it. And he says, I know that a lot of you did try. However, there's certain material that I need to cover because it will be expected of you in the next class. And this is one thing I can totally understand. Sometimes teachers just put material on there just to be hard. And if it's not a weed out class for like a very competitive major, I truly don't understand why you'd want to do that. However, in some circumstances, teachers know that in your next class, maybe like if you take Algebra 1, Algebra 2, your next class, for example, is going to you need to know certain topics. So even if kids aren't doing well, you need to be tested on them. Fair enough. And that was what Mr. Davenport was saying. However, Ben was not hearing him. All Ben heard was that, like, I hate you guys, and I failed you because I'm evil, ha ha ha. So Ben, after Mr. Davenport has his big, long rant about, like, oh, well, I'll make sure to teach you, like, please be honest when you guys don't understand something. I'll be more transparent about what's going on in the tests, stuff like that. Never saying that he's like, oh, I won't put hard stuff on it anymore, just being like, I'll try and make it more obvious. After that whole thing, Ben raises his hand, and he asks the teacher, like, but do you feel bad about, like, giving us all a bad grade? Which everyone's heads kind of turned because that was kind of a weird thing to say. Like, it was on everyone's mind. Don't get me wrong. It was on everyone's mind. However, it's just kind of a very awkward and it just was very, it wasn't fitting for a kid to say that in that situation. And the teacher, who was a little bit taken aback, a little bit, was like, oh, I get, like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry you guys didn't do as well as we all hoped, but there's many more tests in the future. And unfortunately, this was not a sufficient answer to Ben, apparently, because Ben, I don't know why, you know, the teacher was sitting up at his desk, and Ben ran up to the front of the room, and the teacher had a book bag. You know those, like, briefcase book bags, right? You know, those kind of, like, briefcase type, you know, those bags, you just carry your computer, maybe it's like a laptop bag, I don't really know. And Ben goes to the front of the room. And, well, I mean, I think you guys can understand what's happening next, but he goes to the front of the room, he steps on top of it, he, like, pulls it out from under the teacher's desk. The teacher's just he's just so stunned at what's going on, he doesn't have time to speak. And Ben pulls down his pants, and it was so incredibly quick what Ben did that, you know, people probably thought that he's been saving that up for months, which is quite impressive, right? Not impressive in a good way. I'm not impressed by this, guys. Don't do this. But yeah, in front of everyone, just does number 2 on his book bag. And then Ben afterwards immediately starts laughing. And he's like, that's what you get for failing us. Ha ha ha. And he expected everyone else in the class to start laughing because he did the lull funny from South Park. Nobody was laughing. Dead silence. In fact, it was shock and horror, right? It was like the most silent that room has ever been, except the times when nobody's in the room. No one was laughing at this guy, man. At this point, you know, Mr. Davenport, after being so shocked of seeing what happened, starts to realize what just transpired. He's like, oh my God, like, this is insane. Like, all this kind of stuff. Like, you can't, like, oh my God. Like, he's pretty messed up. He's like, hey, like, you got to go to the front office right now. There's no exceptions. Like, you need to go right now. And Ben's starting to realize how ridiculous what he was doing. Immediately, he's like, yes, I'm sorry. I'll go. And Lucas turns to his friend because one of the other friends that was at the sleepover was in his class. And he was sitting next to him. And Ben was sitting on the other side of Lucas, but obviously he got up to go to the front of the classroom. And Lucas talked to the other friend, and he's like, dude, was that because of us? Like, was that because of the episode we watched? And the friend's like, dude, remember when he said, wouldn't it be funny if he did this? And Lucas is like, oh my God. And we said yes. This is our fault. All right, so the subscriber submitted the next story. We're going to call him Tommy. And this is a very classic tale that happens in middle school and high school. And it's just a cautionary tale of someone trying to be cool, and they end up just completely, they get in trouble for it, and they kind of deserve, you know, what comes to them. But you'll see what I mean. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Lucas down below. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Thank you guys for watching the videos recently, especially when I haven't been active. I've, had some kind of sickness type thing. I don't even know what it was, but I'm pretty much done now. So you might hear some voice cracks and all that kind of stuff, but otherwise I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for all your concern in the comments. I do appreciate it. I appreciate you guys care about me. It makes me feel good. But yeah, if you want to listen to this on Spotify, all the episodes are posted there. I'm a little bit behind, but in most cases, episodes will be posted 2 to 3 hours early on there. Submit stories to me on Twitter or Instagram. It's in the description. You just have to DM me there. And please be following me too. I might see a good story and be like, wow, you don't follow me? Wow, man. Okay, I'm not posting the story, but make sure you follow me on there. Anyways, that's all I want to say, and let's just get right into the story. We're going to call the subscriber who submitted this Tommy. So anyways, Tommy was sitting in class one day, and there's this kid who we're going to call Ben. And Tommy and Ben were not friends, unlike the last Ben and the subscriber in the last video. And, Ben was kind of known as, like, the kid who was, like, trying to always be, like, edgy and cool. He wasn't, like, actually that much of, like, an outcast or did anything too bad. He was just always known as the kid who wanted to be perceived as the kid who would, like, do, like, oh my God, he's the kid who, like, did it. Oh my God, he did X or he did Y. He's so savage, man. He's so crazy. He's the kid who wanted to get that perception. And this was back when, okay, I don't think YouTube likes it when I say vaping, so I'm going to come up with a different word so the bot doesn't hear me say it too much. Let me think. Okay, I'm just going to say inhaling. You guys know what I mean. Actually, that kind of sounds worse, but the bot doesn't care as much. So anyways, this was when, like, inhaling very specific rhymes with cool but isn't. That product became very popular. It got recently, I think, banned in the United States, which is very interesting. I'll talk about that on my other channel maybe. But this product became very popular, and it was almost like, oh my God, super cool to inhale the mango version of it or whatever. And oh my God, I got the mint one. Oh my God, you got to catch them all, guys, or whatever, right? And yet now, getting early stage lung cancer is not swag, guys. Come on now, like, chill out. Oh my God, early addiction to nicotine, yay! No, not good, not good. Anyway, so this kid, Ben, wanted to be the first one in his, like, 6th grade class to be, like, in class inhaling his device, right? Because he wanted to be super swag. He wanted to be incredibly edgy. He wanted to be one of those kids. He wanted to be everyone to be known that, like, he was not a conformist in society. In fact, he was so unconformist in society that he doesn't even know what society is. That's how far away he is. And so one day, Ben was in class, and he had a big old, like, Fortnite hoodie or whatever. So, oh, wow, super edgy already. And, he had this big old Fortnite hoodie on, and he had his knees in his hood. I don't know. I used to do this a little bit as a kid. I just put my knees in my, like, big hoodie, and it'd be like, oh, no, the hoodie's all stretched out. Ooh, interesting. Whatever. Like, you can do the most mundane things as a kid. It was interesting. But the thing was, he would, like, put his knees into the hoodie and then also kind of, like, reach his head down, like, through into, like, the hole that he was, like, or the kind of, like, the cave type thing he was creating with his knees, so that, you couldn't really see what his head was doing, and you also couldn't see what his hands were doing. That sounds very sus, but it's sus in a different way. And sure enough, he would be, using his inhalation device, and that thing comes with smoke. And it's not like thick camel smoke or something like that from a cigarette or something. But it's like, it is, it's vape smoke. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want you to be mad at me, man, but the story's kind of funny. And so kids next to him, specifically Tommy the subscriber, would see this clown, and he's like, what's this clown doing over here? Because no one thought this was cool. I mean, it was kind of like the thing for the edgy 8th graders to do, but they're in 6th grade. They're like, we don't need this, man. We don't need this, right? And, so he's doing it, and he, like, takes his head out, and he looks around, and he starts, like, blowing this smoke around even more when the teacher isn't looking. And all the kids are looking at him like, can you please stop? Like, can you not do that? That's really annoying. Like, can you not blow clouds of smoke into my face, man? Can you not do that? Thanks. Can you please stop? So anyways, right, this kid, Ben is like, oh my God, I'm the sickest guy on planet Earth. And he just keeps doing it. And he does it for a couple weeks. And in class, he's not paying attention. And he's just trying to get everyone's attention by, oh my God, man. Dude, he's got the vaporation device. Oh my God. I want to be like him. I bet his breath smells like mangoes. Oh my God. It's, I don't know, man. Like, it's just, no one was really falling for it. Even though this was a bunch of 6th graders who I bet when I was in 6th grade, I would have been like, whoa, look at this guy. He doesn't care about his health at all. That's so crazy. Oh my God. Short-term vision, boys. Let's go. And, I sound like a guy who used to use that. I never did. I was actually never one of those kids. It was crazy in my high school, but I never did, which was, I'm happy because I don't want an addiction to that. That's not fun, especially nowadays. I see the people there like, I wish I never did it. And yeah, I feel bad. But anyways, back to the story. This kid keeps on being the most egregious clouds, blowing them in class. And it's so obvious. But for some reason, some combination of luck somehow allowed that the teacher would always be turned away while the clouds of smoke were being blown, or while he was obviously doing it in his hoodie. And by the time the teacher turned around, the clouds had dissipated. Except this one time when, Ben got really, really cocky and started trying to do, smoke tricks. Like, he tried to blow, circles or O's or whatever. And sure enough, one of these times he's in the middle of blowing a massive cloud, and the teacher turns around. So Ben's luck is completely ran out. The teacher, who's been like briefed on by a meeting like right before this or something about like, oh, if you see your kids inhaling special stuff or whatever, you like, this is an epidemic around the school, you must report them to the front office or something like that, right? So he knows what to do. He's like, Ben, what are you doing over there? And Ben is like, it's like, you just see a big thing of smoke coming out. He's like, oh, nothing. At this point, just admit it. Like, admit it, man. Come on now. And the teacher's like, nope, I definitely saw something. Go to the front office. And so sure enough, yeah, Ben went to the front office. And everyone's just looking up at him. Because remember, the whole point of him doing this is he's trying to be all, like, edgy and cool or whatever. But, he ended up, he got his thing taken away from him. And he came back to class, and he was all sulky and sad. Because he probably spent, like, all of his money from on that thing. Probably got from, like, some, like, dealer who charged him, like, 100x what it actually is worth or something. And yeah, Ben was pretty upset for the next, because he didn't get it back. The teacher's like, okay, we'll give you this illegal device for minors back when after school. Like, that's not how it works, man. So yeah, he didn't buy another one, and he tried to find other ways to be like extra cool and epic and edgy. So we're gonna call the subscriber who submitted this story Alex. And by the way, my Instagram is in the description. It's also Connor Pugs. Go follow me there, and you can submit stories like this to me on there. I'll get to them when I get to them. And anyways, so Alex was in 8th grade. And he had this kid in his class who we're going to call Ben. Yes, we're bringing back the name Ben for random secondary characters. And anyways, right, Ben was like, he wasn't like super into Minecraft. Actually, he knew nothing of Minecraft until like a couple weeks before the story. And that's when he was introduced to the game by one of Alex's friends. We don't need a name, right? And anyways, right, Ben got super, super into it. Alex doesn't really know how Ben didn't know what Minecraft was. Like, it wasn't like it wasn't like Ben wasn't on the internet. Like, I think Ben might have heard of it, but he didn't know what it was. So when one of Alex's friends introduced Minecraft to him, Ben basically disappeared for like 2 weeks. Like, he went to school and everything, but he stopped being on social media, disappeared as soon as he could, like, didn't show up to anything. He was just in his room for as long as he could, playing Minecraft. And I don't mean, like, I don't know, like parkour servers like this, or player versus player servers. I mean, he was playing, like, vanilla, straight up, your traditional Minecraft. That's all he was doing, and he was in love with it. And 3 weeks later, he came into school one day, and he's like, Alex, buddy, I need to tell you something, a revelation I've come to. And Alex is like, yeah, what's good, dude? And Ben's like, brother, we need to return to the caveman days. I was playing Minecraft a couple days ago, and I came to a realization that we need to return to our caveman roots. And I have started that already. Alex is like, what do you mean by that? And at this time, Alex was noticing quite a pungent aroma coming from Ben, right? He didn't want to say anything. He didn't want to be mean. He didn't want to be, cruel or anything. But let's just say that, Benny old boy was not smelling the greatest. He was kind of, he had this essence, this odor, this aroma, some might call it, that wasn't the greatest, to put it lightly, right? So anyways, Alex or Ben goes on to say, yeah, so I've been playing Minecraft, and it just feels so good. It feels so natural. I mean, yeah, playing a block game feels natural, but whatever. I like Minecraft. I'm not saying it's not, but he goes on to say, and I realized that, my failures in the lady department, the reason why women don't love me is because I'm not like the natural man. And when they see me as the natural caveman, they will instinctively fall in love with me. And Alex just looks at Ben. It's like, Ben, I don't know where you're going with this, but I really don't have a good feeling about this. And Ben's like, Alex, I'm here to convert you to my ways. And Alex is like, what? And he's like, are you trying to like sell me an MLM or something? Like, where are we going with this? And Ben is like, no, Alex, return to the caveman. Return to the caveman, Alex. This is what Steve has taught me. And Alex is like, Ben, are you okay? Like, if you need help, like, I can help you get. He's like, no, you need help, man. You don't understand. He said, look, I've returned to my caveman roots, but by not doing any of the showering that is in our modern day societies. You really think putting chemicals in our hair and rinsing it with fake water. Alex is like, fake water? What are you? He's like, these are details. These are details, Alex. Don't question it. It's whatever. You don't understand. The natural aroma that comes from the human body has been programmed for trillions of years. And Alex is like, I don't think humans have been around for trillions of years. And Ben's like, that's not the point. The point is the aroma, the natural musk. Sure, you can buy cheap garbage from, like, I don't know, Armani or Gucci. Their fragrance is terrible. They'll destroy the brain cells. But the true caveman odor is what Steve has taught me. And Alex is like, so are you going to, like, I don't know, spend more time outside, get more sunlight, exercise, eat, like, not processed stuff like the caveman too? And Alex is like, whoa, or Ben is like, whoa, Alex, chill out. Let's not go crazy. Let's not go cuckoo banana mode on me, okay, man? Okay, man? Is that good? Like, let's not go crazy. I'm not dropping everything for this caveman thing, but I am embracing the natural musk. And Alex just looks at him and says, so Ben, you're not really changing anything about what you do besides not showering. That's the only difference. And Ben's like, well, no. It's not just not showering. It's embracing my natural musk, my natural odor. It will instinctively make women love me. And Alex is like, Ben, as your friend, I guess, I strongly suggest you don't do this. And Ben is like, you know what, Alex? I understand that you're a hater, and that's okay. Alex is like, I don't think I'm a hater, and Ben's like, silence. Look, you know that girl over there, Ava? You know how, the prettiest girl in our class? I've always had a crush on her, and I never had a chance. And Alex is like, well, that's also something that has not changed. And Ben's like, look, I'm going to go up to her, and you're going to see. I'm going to go up to her. I'm going to lift up my arms so my armpits are bare. Let her embrace my natural aroma, my natural odor, and you will see that she will just fall in love with me. I'm going to ask her out, and she's going to say yes. It's not even going to be her saying yes. It's going to be her subconscious breaking through to the surface and convincing her that I am the true man for her. Alex is just looking at Ben. He's like, dude, did playing Minecraft make you think this or something? And Ben's like, no, it encouraged me to remember my true caveman days. And, Alex is like, okay, that's cool, man. Like, I'm cool with that. Like, you're cool. That's good. Okay, actually, Ben, yes. Let's see it. I will, too, embrace the caveman if Ava goes out with you because you smell bad. And Ben's like, I don't smell bad. I smell natural. If that is bad to your nose, then you have a bad nose. And Ben's like, or Alex is like, all right, I got bad nose. That's not great. Ben's like, you'll see. Anyways, next day comes around, and Alex is sitting with his friends, and he explains, like, yeah, so you know Ben, right? And they're like, yeah, we know Ben. Alex is like, yeah, so he's doing something crazy. And they're like, well, I don't know what he's been doing, but he's been smelling like garbage recently. And Alex is like, it's related. You're not going to believe this. He played Minecraft, and then he believed he had to go back to the caveman era, like he had to be a man again. And that doesn't mean working out or, reading. It just means not showering for some reason. It's kind of ridiculous. And they're like, yeah, I mean, Ben has been smelling a little bit more musty, and it kind of smells like spoiled milk at this point. But I guess, I guess that makes sense now. And Alex goes on to say, yeah, and Ava? And they're like, yeah, of course we know Ava. Hottest girl in our class, beauty, right? 10 out of 10. They're like, Alex is like, yeah, so Ben is going to ask her out later today. They're like, he's going to do what? He's going to do, and Alex is like, yeah, so Ben thinks that because he smells like he does, she's going to instinctively say yes. They're like, dude, why did you say yes? Why did you allow him to go on with this? At this point, Alex's friends are like, bro, you're kind of being a bad friend of Ben. And Alex is like, dude, he was so confident. He was being so cocky. And they're like, dude, he's going to get rejected. And there's a chance he gets rejected really hard and really embarrassingly in front of everyone. Do you want that for him? And look, Alex was not happy with the way that Ben went about explaining or teaching him, quote unquote, the ways of the caveman, aka no shower, no more, right? But at the end of the day, they were still friends, and Alex knew that Ava was not just going to say no, but, she had developed a bit of an ego because she did know that she was, the most beautiful girl in the class, and she could have any guy she wanted. She was not going to be nice about letting him down. She was going to be cruel, she was going to be mean, and she was going to crush him, dude. She was going to freaking crush him. And Alex is like, all right, I got to find Ben. I need to find him before he asks Ava out. And as Alex was saying that, he hears, or he looks up, and he looks at the table across, because they're sitting at lunch. He looks at the table farthest away, and that's where Ava and her friends were sitting, and Ben was walking up to her table. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Minecraft down below. And if you want to support the channel, one of the best things you can do is binge watch the videos. And please let me know in the comment section what you're doing while watching these videos. And also, final thing, a bit of a new request I have. If you haven't already done so, if you have a TikTok account, go follow my TikTok. It is Connor Pugs. I have about 7,000 followers on there. I'm reposting clips from here. I'm just trying to reach a new audience on TikTok and hopefully bring them to the family over on here. And if you could even just following me in there and occasionally watching my videos, basically no one watches them on there, and I need a little bit of traction from you guys to help them reach new people, and I really would appreciate it. Anyways, let's get back to the story before I bore you guys. And also, if you're going to buy some gamer sups or any of their stuff, wait about a week. I have a pretty cool surprise coming for you guys. But anyways, enough of teasing that. I can't say too much right now. Anyways, right, so Alex looks over and he notices that Ben is walking to Ava's table. And he's like, oh my God, no, this can't be happening. And he goes and he starts to like walk over, and the people Alex was sitting with are like, Alex, go, he's gonna do it, don't let this happen. So Alex is basically sprinting over to the table, but he doesn't get there in time, and he kind of stops. He's like, no, I'm too late. So Ben goes up to Ava and goes, ahem, Ava? And Ava looks up and is like, yes. Oh my, the next part's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Ben goes up to her and literally lifts up both of his arms. You know how, like, after you run and you're, like, really exhausted, you'll put your arms above your heads to, like, make it easier to breathe, right? Or you're told to do that or whatever, right? That's basically what he did. And you could see Ava's face. Like, first you saw her nose kind of twitch as she was smelling what was going on. And then you saw her eyes water, her face crunch up. And you could almost hear, like, like, it was a bad smell. It was not good. And Alex is like, oh no, oh my God, I'm partially responsible. Oh my God, I'm partially responsible, man. This is on me. Anyways, Ben goes on to say, so, Ava, now that, I've let your senses, acclimate themselves, and if you have any primal urges, wink wink, that are coming up from the surface that are breaking through, would you like to go on a date? You know what, let's just skip that. Would you like to be my girlfriend? And Alex is like, in his head, he's like, no, Ben, no, and so sure enough, Ava's just looking at him, blinking, not even responding, not laughing or anything. She's just blinking because she's just so dumbfounded by did this kid just straight up ask me out? Because remember, Ava and Ben, they're not friends. They're not dating each other. They're not close like that. What? And he also smells terrible. And Ben is like, if you don't know your answer yet, maybe you'll know it in a second. And Ben literally gets closer to her and like pushes his armpit in her face. And she's like, ew, get away from me, and kind of pushes him back. He's like, looks over at Alex, and Ben's like, yells over, don't worry, Alex, don't worry, give it a second, you'll see, man, you'll see, it's crazy, you're not gonna believe it, she's gonna fall in love with me. And Ava looks up, fall in love with you? I don't know who you are. I just know that you're a guy who came over here and is smelling terrible and is pushing his stinky armpits in my face. No, I will not go out with you. And like at this point, everybody in the cafeteria has turned their heads. Everybody has turned their heads and is looking at this because it's a scene. It's a spectacle. I mean, Ben is standing up there with his greased out armpits, and Ava, known as the prettiest girl in the class, has just demolished him in front of everyone, spectators of the entire class. At this point, there's an awkward silence because people have stopped speaking. Like, they have stopped speaking because they want to hear what's going on. And Ben is like, I see. Let me know if you change your mind. And Ava's like, no, I will never change my mind. As I said, she's a little extra, right? And Ben just walks over to Alex. And Alex looks at him. He's like, dude, I was trying to come over to tell you not to do it. Like, I'm sorry. This is my fault. Ben's like, bro, this is not your fault. She just needs time to realize. Like, Ben goes on to say that, this is totally part of the plan. He knew that there's a chance that, her like primal senses would be stopped by her like brain, but it was only a matter of time till like they break through. And now that he's like broken through to the senses through like essencing out the stink or whatever, that like eventually within like the next 24 hours, she will come to her senses, maybe privately, maybe not publicly, but they will be dating. And Alex is like, dude, you can't seriously think that. And Ben is like, it's my theory. Like, I know it's to be true. You have your opinions, and I have my facts. I'm sorry, I stole that from Baskets. Greatest show ever. Rip Christine Baskets, bro. Brings a tear to my eye. Anyways, and so sure enough, next day rolls around. It has been 24 hours. And Alex just goes up to Ben. He's like, yo. Ben's like, yeah, what's up? He's like, hey, did she ask you out yet? And he's like, no, it hasn't been 24 hours. Ben looks at his phone, looks at the time. He's like, dude, it's been like 22 hours. And Ben goes on to say, see, you're proving my points. Once again, my facts destroy your opinions. And Alex is like, okay, but I mean, she hasn't asked you out yet. And 2 hours go by. Alex goes up to him and Ben's like, dude, I don't want to talk about it. Alex is like, that's fine, man. Like, you don't have to prove anything to me. Like, I get it. Alex is like, dude, you're good. Don't worry about it. Just please go home and take a shower. And sure enough, Ben, while he actually continued to play Minecraft, no longer believed the whole caveman philosophy of you must smell like garbage for women to like you. And that was partially due to the fact that it doesn't work, and he has firsthand experience in why it doesn't work. And yeah, him and Ava did not ever date from that point on. It was a pretty bad first impression. By the way, that was a first impression practically. I think they knew of each other beforehand, but yeah. Moral of the story is, don't do that. I'm going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Sam. So anyways, this all happened when Sam was, when Sam was in 8th grade, which was 6 months ago. Also, real quick, you can like Dream, you can even be a Dream stan. I personally don't care, we're cool either way. As long as you don't act like this girl, you're totally cool. That's all I'm gonna say before I hop into it. So anyways, Sam was in 8th grade about 6 months ago. Well, this story happened around 6 months ago. So he was just, in his, lab class or his science class or whatever you want to call it. And normally the teacher let them choose lab partners. But for some reason, one day, the teacher came in and said, hey, I'm actually mixing it up. Like, I'm going to give you randomized lab partners. You guys have been choosing the same people every single day. And everyone's like, what? No, but it's my friend. And he's like, tough. You're going to get a random lab partner and you're going to like it. So anyways, right, Sam was randomized and he got a random person that he didn't really know. Sam normally gravitated towards his one real good friend in the class. But, he's like, all right, well, this is someone new. So anyways, Sam was assigned to this person for, a lab partner. And, they went up there, or Sam went over there and said, hi, my name's Sam. And the other person looked up and said, hey, my name's Sarah. And Sam and Sarah, immediately got to work on the lab, and they actually hit it off pretty well. Like, things were pretty good. Life was pretty great. It's not necessarily they had a lot in common right away, but they just had really good chemistry, and it was pretty apparent. And by the end of it, Sam's like, hey, I actually had a lot of fun today. We should hang out more, and Sarah agreed. It was always kind of throughout the story, it's not super clear to me if they ever had a kind of a underlying romantic theme or if it was truly just a platonic relationship. I have plenty of friendships with women, and it's just 100% platonic. Those people lie on the internet and say that those can never exist. They can. However, I'm not sure if in this case Sam kind of had a little thing for Sarah or not, but throughout the story, they do remain friends till the very end, and it's insane, but you don't want to miss that. Anyway, so Sam and Sarah, outside of this lab class, would start to hang out a little bit. They still had a free period or whatever type recess deal. At lunch, Sam would normally sit with his boys, but, he would sometimes be like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with some other friends, and they'd be like, what? And then they see him go sit with a girl, and they're like, ooh, you're sitting with a girl. Typical behavior, even from my friends and we're 19. It doesn't get better, guys, all I'm saying. But anyways, right, so Sam and Sarah, they started to talk more, and they became pretty close friends. And, it came to the point where Sarah actually invited Sam over to her house for a sleepover. And, I will say, like, a boy-girl sleepover, I have been to one of them. They're pretty cool. But anyways, Sam was like, oh my, like, really? And Sarah's like, yeah, I mean, we're buddies. Like, I've my other buddies over all the time. Doesn't really matter, And, Sarah's like, well, my mom's cool with it. Like, talk to your parents. So anyways, Sam went back home and, he hit up his, or not, he didn't hit up his parents. His parents were there. Sam went back home and he kind of like went up to his mom's like, hey, Mom, I got a question for you. And his mom's like, yeah, what's up? He's like, so I'm friends with this girl and I really am just friends with her. And Sam's mom's like, yes. She already knew that like something was coming up. And he's like, well, so basically what happened is that, she's invited me over to her house for a sleepover, which is, I go to sleepovers all the time. And Sam's mom's like, Sam? And Sam's like, no, Mom, I swear, like, I really don't have any feelings for her. She doesn't have any feelings for me. It's just, like, normal. I know it's weird because it's, like, boys and girls, but, Mom, boys and girls can be friends, too. And Sam's mom's like, well, okay, but I trust you on this one. Because, Sam's in 8th grade. Hey, man. And, Sam's like, thank you, Mom. Like, that's great. So the next day, Sam gets into school, and he kind of, like, runs up to Sarah. He's like, Sarah, like, I know, I can actually do this. Like, I can come over to your house. And she's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, that's great. Like, I'm so excited. Do you want to do this weekend? He's like, yeah, no, I don't have anything this weekend. So they plan it for the weekend. Sam's going to go over to Sarah's house. Life is good. Well, life wasn't really good, but Sam didn't see that coming. But the only warning sign he got was that, Sam was talking to one of his boys at the lunch table. He decided not to hang out with Sarah that day just because, he had to hang out with the boys. You got to split your time. And he was saying, like, oh, it's really cool. Like, Sarah and I are actually pretty good friends. I'm actually going over to her house. And one of the boys was like, wait, Sarah, like Sarah, and then says the last name. And Sam's like, yeah. He's like, oh, dude. And Sam's like, dude, what? He's like, I don't really know. Like, I can't tell you anything specific, but I've just heard things. And Sam's like, bro, what do you mean you've heard things? What are the things? And Sam's friend's like, I don't know. I've just heard that she's like, really, like, this isn't meant to be offensive, but she's just like, she's just really, really weird and something happened, but I didn't actually know. And Sam's like, bro, you can't just say that. You can't just say that and then not actually have an answer. And Sam's friend's like, I know, I shouldn't have even brought it up. I don't know. Maybe you want to do some digging. Maybe you don't. I don't think it's just like she's weird, like people don't like her weird. I think something like, I don't know. There's something there. I don't know what it is. But, bro, just be careful. That's all I'm saying. And Sam was kind of like, all right, well, obviously my friend's just being a hater and is jealous because I don't really spend as much time with them anymore because I have more than one friend. You know what? He can't deal with the fact that I have more than one friend. So, you know what? That's tough for him. And, sure enough, Sam did not heed his friend's warning and kind of paid the price for it later on. And this is probably one of the craziest stories I've ever told in the channel or I've ever received. By the way, submit your own stories to me on Instagram, Connor Pugs, or Discord. Both my links are in the description of this video if you want to submit the stories. Anyways, so Sam packs his bag on that Friday and is super excited and, he's ready for the next day. Saturday comes around and he sends a text to Sarah being like, hey, I'm excited for tonight. She's like, yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff planned. And so anyways, Sam's mom is driving him over, and Sam's mom's like, all right, well, you have my number, and if at any point you want to leave, just let me know. Like, I will bring you back. Don't worry about it. And Sam's like, Mom, it's going to be fine. Stop worrying, Mom. God, Mom, why are you so... God damn it, Mom. No, okay. But he was like, oh, like, Mom, I'm fine. Like, don't worry about me like that. Yeah, well, his mom had an intuition, and that all of his friends apparently did too, but Sam just couldn't see. So anyways, Sam and his mom pull up to Sarah's house, and the first kind of red flag was that there was no cars in the driveway. And Sam's mom was like, wait, her parents aren't home? And Sam's like, And Sam's mom's like, all right, I'm coming with you, and if their parents aren't going to be here, well, then I don't think I can let you stay. Sam's like, oh, jeez. So they walk up, right? And, Sam's mom rings the doorbell, and Sarah greets them at the door. Sam's mom's like, "Hi, Sarah. I'm Sam's mom. I'm so excited to see you. I'm so glad that my son and you are good friends. Are your parents home?" And Sarah's like, "No, but they'll be back really soon." And Sam's mom's like, "How soon do you think?" Sarah's like, "Yeah, I don't know, like 30, 45 minutes. They just went out to get something. Sorry, I think they're just running a little late. They sent me a text." And, Sam's mom's like, "Okay, I don't think I'm going to, okay, that's fine. Sam, you have my number if you need anything. Sarah, Sam can give you my number if you need to contact me or anything. Bye, guys." And, Sam's mom walks away. Sam's mom should not have walked away, because things are about to get really crazy. And I keep hyping it up, but trust me, it is worth it. So anyways, Sam, walks in, and he's so excited, right? This is Sarah, this is his friend, this is the first mixed-gender sleepover, which he hasn't been to one before, and he's really happy about that. And, Sarah seems pretty excited too, but there's just this weird energy that Sam kind of is, acknowledging, but also ignoring, because he just thinks it's his nerves. He just thinks he's, being, a little freaked out about his first, "Oh, my God, sleepover with a girl," whatever, right? But no, it was something else, and he should have paid attention to it. And, Sarah's like, "Oh, do you need to charge your phone?" And Sam's like, "Actually, I do." And his phone was on, 20% or something. So she's like, "Oh, I got a charger," and takes his phone and charges it in another room. This was mistake number 15, but whatever. This was his next mistake. He's now lost access to his phone. So anyways, right, so Sam and Sarah, they walk over, and Sarah's like, "Welcome to my room." She opens it up, and it's your quintessential, very stereotypical, girl room. There's, all this, I don't know what a stereotypical girl room. It just doesn't smell like crap like all boys' rooms do. You know what? That's a compliment, girls. Don't get mad at me in the comment section. Boys, don't stop coping. Your rooms smell bad. I know, because I am one. Anyways, though, so they sit down, they start talking about stuff. They're actually having a really good time, because they're both, watching, I don't know, freaking Stranger Things. And this is before the new season came out, so they're kind of, theorizing about what's going to happen next. And, they're really having a good time and all that kind of stuff. And that's when Sarah's like, "Oh, I'm going to, go to the I have to, go downstairs and go to the bathroom. I'll be back in, 5 minutes. Do you mind just, chilling here?" Sam's like, "Yeah, no, that's fine." So Sarah leaves her room. And Sam, he doesn't, look for her diary or anything, but he's looking around, he's bored. His phone's charging, so he goes around, and he sees a closet. And the closet is only, open, a jar. It's only half open, right? Or it's only open a little bit. So he goes over, and it seems to be, overflowing. And one thing Sam also noticed before he came into the room was there's, a lot of weird empty spots on the wall. You know when you have a poster on the wall, and it's it leaves a sun mark, the sun's been on it, that everything around it becomes lighter, and then when you remove the poster it becomes darker. And also when you have tape or whatever, it leaves a little it kind of peels away the paint where it was. There was a lot of weird things on the wall that just seemed like something was there that was recently removed. But Sam didn't think anything of it really at the time. But when Sam got to the closet, he opened up the closet a little bit, and he saw a massive pile of Dream SMP, all that type of stuff, a big pile of merchandise and stuff. And that doesn't really matter. You can have a thing, but the thing that really caught his eye was this big bulletin board type thing. And there was a very big bulletin board shaped hole in her wall. It was not hole, but a part that felt like something was there before. And that started to weird him out. And he looked at it, and on the top of the bulletin board, it said, "The quest to find Dream, aka Clay." And Sam was like, and down below it had all, those in the horror movies, or the guy goes crazy trying to figure something out. He has all the strings attaching the stuff. It was pamphlets, it was flyers, it was everything, trying to figure out Dream and who he actually is and what he actually looks like. And as he's reading it, it says, conclusion, Dream, and then he finds a little book, right? A little book next to it. All these flyers and posters trying to find who Dream really is. By the way, if you don't know, Dream is a very popular Minecraft YouTuber. And anyways, he picks it up and he starts reading through it. And a little bit through, he gets to a page where it says, "Dream's name is not Clay. He made that up," right? And he's like, "I figured this out through my deductive reasoning. I know," and then going ahead a little bit more, Dream's hair is blonde, like looking like this. He doesn't actually live in Florida. He lives where I live. I have come to this conclusion. Does some more like page flipping, and that's where Sam's heart starts to drop. And it says, suspect for Dream, Sam, and then his last name. Hair, check. Voice, check. Like, I believe that this is actually him. I'll have to do some more research. And Sam keeps on flipping the pages, and he starts to get really freaked out because it is insanely detailed pages, page after page after page of details about him and like Sarah's conspiracy theories that he is actually Dream. And that's when he gets to the last page that says like Operation Interrogation. And he reads it, and it spells out in plain English that Sarah is going to invite him, befriend him even closer, and then invite him over for a sleepover to interrogate him to prove that he is actually Dream. And when Sam has this book open, he hears a voice behind him saying, "So you found the book." And he turns around, and it's Sarah. Real quick, comment Dream if you made it this far into the video. I just want to see how many people made it this far. I like seeing the names and faces. And I will try and heart a bunch of comments that say the secret word of the day, which is Dream. And also, if you want to support the channel even more than you've already done by watching this far and giving me the good watch time, which boosts the channel, all you got to do is binge watch these videos in one sitting, meaning sit down and either do something or try to go to sleep or draw or play video games and watch a bunch of videos in a row. And let me know in the comment section down below what you're doing like while you're watching my videos or how many videos you binge watched. I'll try and heart the comments, reply to them saying thank you, and even shout out random people who tell me how they support the channel, like this person on screen. Thank you. So shout out to this person as well as everyone else who's been supporting the channel in the last couple of weeks and forever really. And let's get back to the story. So at this point, right, Sam is petrified. He's at the house alone. His phone is in another room. It's probably not even charging. She's probably just taking it, like any source of communication. It's just him, and Sarah. And Sarah thinks that he is the Minecraft YouTuber Dream because he's blonde, he sounds like him, and she's gone crazy, right? And at this point, she wants to interrogate him to prove that he is actually Dream. So Sam is like, haha, yeah, I was just looking around. No, like, book? What? I just see you really like the Dream SMP. That's cool. I don't really watch Minecraft that much. She said, I know you'd say that. I know you'd try and back out of the truth. And Sam's like, what do you mean? And she's like, you saw the book, didn't you? And Sam's like, what book? And Sarah's like, oh, it's just a little book I have of, like, my favorite Dream characters. And Sam's like, and Sarah's like, oh, follow me. Sarah comes over, grabs his hand, and leads him downstairs. Leads him past the room where his phone was supposedly charging. His phone was gone. It wasn't charging, by the way. Sam's like, oh, where's my phone? She's like, oh, it's charging in a different room. Sam's like, Sarah continues to lead him downstairs and then kind of to this basement area. And Sarah's like, look, come on. I want to show you something. Drags him basically down the stairs to the basement, brings him down there, and it's like, okay, so like there's a really cool game over there, and I want you to go over there and get it set up. And Sam's like, what? And he turns around, Sarah's gone, and he hears running up the stairs. So like he starts turning around and starts like speed walking towards her, and Sarah's already ran up the stairs, slams the basement door shut, locks it. And Sam's like, yo, like open up, like what are you doing? And Sarah's like, I know it's you, Dream. And Sam's like, dude, what? What are you saying? And Sarah's like, I've been watching you for a while, and I know that it's actually you. You are Dream. I've been trying to figure out your true identity for the longest time. And I knew that like that the red herring, Clay. Of course your name isn't Clay. That is a perfect idea to tell everyone your name is Clay and then it's actually Sam. Oh my God, I'm a genius. You should have changed your voice. You should have used a voice changer in your videos because it's so obvious when I hear you speak that you are actually Dream. And Sam's like, dude, what are you talking about? And Sarah's like, try and keep this up and you'll stay down there forever. And Sam's like, so what are you gonna do when your parents get back? And Sarah's like, my parents are gone for the week. And Sam's like, well, my mom's coming tomorrow. And Sarah will say, I'm just going to tell her that you were walking home. and you chose to walk home yourself. She's gonna think then that you got abducted and something like that, and I'll have you for the entire week, and you'll starve unless you admit it. And Sam's like, oh my God, this woman's insane. So he's looking around, and there's like no actual windows. There's only like a light. And Sam's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do if I admit that I'm Dream? And Sarah's like, well, you gotta admit it first. And Sam's like, okay, you got me. I'm actually Dream. And Sarah's like, yes, I knew it. Oh, Dream, I knew it. Now, I have the identity of the most popular YouTuber ever. What shall I do with it? And Sam's kind of like, yeah, so are you gonna let me out yet? And Sarah's like, no, I don't think so. And Sam's like, well, okay, well, you know the truth now. Like, what else do you want to know? And Sarah's like, well, I gotta be certain, right? I need you to show me that you're logged into the Dream YouTube channel. At this point, Sam's like, what the fuck? Like, oh, this is the most insane thing I've ever... He says, okay, well, you got to bring me my phone then. And Sarah's like, well, I'm going to bring you your phone, and then you're going to give me your password. And Sam's like, no can do. I'm going to type in the password myself, or you're not going to see the Dream channel. Sarah's like, fine. Sam is so confused how that worked, but it did, so he's like, all right, screw it, we're going with this. And so Sarah, like, goes around, he hears her, like, because remember, Sam and Sarah are talking between a door at this point, and, he hears Sarah walk away, walk into a different room, get his phone, walk back, and Sarah's like, okay, I'm going to open the door, Dream. Sam still thinks it's hilarious, now she's calling him Dream, and so she opens it, and Sam's like, all right, well, I'm going to get my phone, grabs the phone, and is like, oh, so this has not been charging, it's at 5%. And Sarah's like, yep. And Sam's like, all right, cool, nice. All right, let me type in my password. So Sam starts to type his password, but is slowly moving himself into a position where he can bolt out of there. Because he's kind of remembered, he's putting in his head, he's like, all right, I've got to remember where the exit is. He's like, all right, got the phone. And turns around, starts sprinting. And Sarah's like, get back here, Dream. So Sam starts sprinting from the room to the room to the room to the room, closes doors behind him, knocks stuff over behind him. And she's like, get back here. Sam finds his way to the kitchen, gets out there, and starts like sprinting down because they live on a street, right? She starts sprinting down the street. And that's when he like hears a bell. And that's when he turns around briefly and sees Sarah getting on her bicycle, and Sam's like, oh my God, I can't ride a bicycle, but he's got the distance advantage. So he continues to run, and that's when he turns a corner and jumps into a bush, right? Jumps into a bush of another house, goes down there, and this is as still as possible. And he hears a bike approaching, and then a bike turn the corner, and then a bike stop. And Sam's like, she knows where I am. She must know where I am. Why did she stop right next to me? And Sam is in the bush as still as possible. And he hears the bike just sitting there and then start to move again. And Sam watches as the bike goes down the street. And Sam is like, oh my God. So he sends a text to his mom saying, like, Mom, can you pick me up? And she immediately starts calling him, and he declines the call and says, hey, can you pick me up? And she says, answer my call. So Sam kind of peeks his head out, sees that Sarah is nowhere to be seen, and picks up the phone. And his mom's like, Sam, what's wrong? Like, why do you need to be picked up? And Sam's like, oh, there's just a little complication, and I just don't think this is a great idea for me to be here. And Sam's mom's like, okay, say less, I'm coming. So sure enough, and Sam's like, well, so can you actually pick me up, can you pick me up not at her house? And Sam's mom's like, what do you mean? Can you pick me up at the park that's, 5 minutes away from our house? And Sam's mom's like, why? And Sam's like, Mom, I'm just going to tell you when I get to the car. I can't explain now, but just pick me up there. And she said, okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. So now Sam is like, puts down the phone. It's like, okay, I have an escape. Sam's phone is at 1% too. So he's so glad he made the call when he did. And he starts like moving in the backyards of people's houses. So he starts like going from house to house in the backyards. And then eventually he gets to the place where the park is. And he's about to like jump over the fence when he stops just to look. And thank God he stopped, because he sees in the very distance a bike approaching him. And sure enough, it is Sarah on the bike. She does not see him, but he sees her. So he ducks down and he waits as the bike passes by. Sarah's been doing loops around the entire block because she must be like, how did I lose Dream? And anyways, Sam, hops out, runs into the park and like hides behind a bush or whatever, hides in a tree, hides behind some kind of shrubbery, waiting for his mom. And he waits and he waits and he waits. And that's when he sees a car pull up. And he sees the car pull up and he looks in, and sure enough, it's his mom. So he gets up, he sprints out, and he gets in, he opens up the driver's side car seat. He hops in, closes it, and says, Mom, go, go, go. And, his mom's like, Sam, what? Like, where's your stuff? He's like, I'll deal with that later. He's like, no, and Sam's mom's like, no, let's go pick it up. And Sam's like, Mom, let's drive around the neighborhood. Let me tell you what happened, and then we will make a choice from there. And just imagine you're chilling with your girlfriend. Life is awesome. You stare into her eyes lovingly, and then all of a sudden this emo kid walks in and says that you must fight him to the death to decide who gets your girlfriend. And at that moment, you seriously just sit there and question your life choices. That is the story I'll be telling today. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's just jump right into this story. So we're going to call a subscriber who submitted the story James. So anyways, there was a kid in James's class who we're going to call the emo kid. He kept to himself. He wore crazy makeup and the dark clothing and whatever. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what you wear. But he was also extremely melodramatic. Like, he would come in and he'd be like, society doesn't understand me. No one gets me. I'll never fit in. He was kind of like one of those kids that kind of just like would say this stuff and then would be like, why do I not have friends? I'm just a melodramatic freak all the time, which, I was pretty weird in middle school, so like I can't really speak. But then again, hey man. Anyways, so there's also a girl in, I don't know, I'll just call her we'll just call her Kate, right? It's name of my friend back home. So anyways, James and the emo kid, unfortunately, had to cross paths because they both had a thing for this girl. And this Friday, right? So this story all starts like this weekend, or not this weekend, we'll say starts on Monday. And this Friday, remember, not actually this Friday, I mean this Friday in the story, was going to be the school dance. And the whole thing was like whoever got the slow dance with this girl was basically going to like, so the thing at James's school is if you slow danced with a girl, you were basically dating her at this point. You guys were practically in love at that point. So it was a pretty big deal who was going to get the slow dance. And it was the emo kid versus James. And this became very public knowledge. Like the emo kid was telling everyone that he was going to 100% get the slow dance. And people kind of knew James because James is more popular. He wasn't like, I don't know, some like really annoying popular person. He was just like a cool guy that everyone liked. I mean, at least according to James, who submitted this story. So who really knows? But we'll go with it, right? So everyone kind of knew that both the emo kid and James were both fighting for this girl, Kate. And Kate made it pretty clear that, she was not going to say yes to the emo kid. Like, sorry, unlucky. Life just works out like that. But she was considering saying yes to James. She was kind of just keeping... the truth was that she was going to say yes to James if he asked. However, she just wanted to keep him kind of like on his toes and questioning or whatever, right? So, throughout that whole week, the emo kid and James, they weren't like in a fight with each other, but they were kind of like rivals in a sense, even though they never had any direct confrontation. And let's just skip ahead to that Friday. It was the day of the school dance. It was emo kid versus James. So anyways, at this point, the emo kid is like, he's kind of like, he's standing in the corner at the dance, right? Look, I was pretty awkward in high school and middle school when it came to those big dances. But to be fair, everyone else was as well. But the emo kid was kind of taking it to a whole different level. He literally was like slouched in the corner of the room. His like long black hair kind of like down. Almost like, that scene from The Ring with that like the girl who comes out of the TV. He was kind of looking like that chick for a second. So he was definitely not helping himself out in this situation. And at this point, James and his boys were kind of standing like together, whatever. They were dancing to, I don't know. I don't freaking know what they play at high school dances. Maybe some Whip Nene by Silento. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a middle school dance, bro. I don't know how this works. But anyways, They're kind of waiting for the slow song to come on. Maybe some, I don't know, some like song by Adele or something like that. Like the when like, dude, I always try and like say lines from songs during these stories and I just blank every single time. But anyways, yeah, so they're all kind of waiting around there, and it was eventually the slow dance song came on. And remember, you might be thinking, oh man, who cares? It's just like a slow song. No, no, no. What you have to understand is the slow song meant everything to these kids. Like the slow song, basically, if you had a slow song with some girl, because remember, they were in middle school. This was like 7th, 8th grade. So probably the farthest you ever went with a girl was like slow dancing or maybe holding her hand if you were like crazy, because if you hold if you hold a girl's hand for too long, there is a chance you get her pregnant. So definitely not misinformation from the Connor Pugs channel. But anyways, slow dance was a really big deal. And all of a sudden, the song comes on. And the thing was, right, the emo kid was too busy kind of like sulking about society in the corner of the room to react quick enough. So James was like, all right, bro, like that guy's playing himself. I'm going to go in. So James very quickly goes in. And boom, he gets there, goes up. He's like, hey, like, Kate, like, can I have this dance? And she very happily says yes. Because she said, like, oh, I don't know if I'll say yes. She knew. She was bluffing the whole time. And James kind of felt pretty confident about it. And even though she said, I don't know, he was pretty confident because her friends were like, yeah, dude, she's totally bluffing. Like, I hate to expose my friend like that, but she definitely has a thing for you. You're chilling. You're in the green. So anyways, James goes in. He feels pretty good about the whole thing. But let me just say that the emo kid eventually looks up and then he sees this. And the emo kid is not having it. So he does something pretty insane. So strap in and definitely prepare for the cringe. If you have your cringe seatbelt unbuckled, I'm actually going to fine you for your own safety. So yeah, go ahead and buckle that cringe seatbelt, because there was like a DJ station and there was like a guy who was like DJing, quote unquote, and there was like a microphone. So like the DJ could say like, hey, like 20 minutes till the dance is done, or get ready for this hype song or whatever. And other than that, he was really just a Spotify playlist. He just edited the Spotify playlist, right? However, the DJ let the Spotify playlist run on autoplay or whatever, and he went to the bathroom. So the emo kid ran up to like the spot or whatever. He grabs the microphone. He stops the music. First of all, he goes up to the Spotify, clicks pause on the music, and screams into the microphone, "Wait!" And everybody turns around. Everybody turns around and they look at this kid. And they're all kind of like looking at this emo kid who's standing at the front of the room with like the microphone. He picks it up. He's like, Kate, no. So at this point, everyone's kind of looking at this kid like, oh my God. Because they all knew that like he wanted to have the dance with Kate, but like James obviously got it. So they were like, that's tough, man. Like life sometimes doesn't work out the way you want it to. Like that's just unfortunate how that goes. However, he goes up there and he's like, he goes in the microphone, like he says, wait. And everyone turns around. The music is off. He's like, Kate, may I have this dance? And everyone's so confused because, first of all, he turned off the slow song in the middle of the song. And also, she was already dancing with someone. And instead of just going up to her, he makes a massive scene in front of everyone, grabbing the microphone and screaming into it, saying like, will you have this dance? And the thing is, right, it's caused enough commotion that the guy, like the DJ that was hired, ran back. Because I think he was supposed to be there the whole time, but he needed to like rip a piss or something, so he needed to go. And he runs back over. He's like, give that back to me. He like snatches it out of the emo kid's hand. He's like, sorry for the interruption, guys. Turns the music back on, like starts like, not cursing out this kid, he's a middle schooler, but being like, dude, what do you think you're doing? You can't just like come up here and take this stuff. Like, if you do this again, I'm going to tell your teachers and you'll be in big trouble. Or, I don't know how much trouble a hired DJ can get you in, but, the emo kid returns to his corner and literally just sits down, just slumps into the corner of the room, which James felt kind of bad. He felt a little bit bad because, like, James has definitely been in that position. I say that very kind of liberally because James has not actually been in a position where he grabs the microphone at the school dance, stops the music, and asks the girl out unsuccessfully. He hasn't specifically been there, but he's definitely been in a situation where it just hasn't gone his way. So he feels bad, man. Feels bad, man. You hate to see it. But yeah, anyways, James like continued on with the slow. I mean, he's not going to stop his life because this kid has an unlucky moment. Like, that's tough. So yeah, while I will say there was kind of an awkward moment because while like James was like slow dancing with Kate, he kind of like turns around, like they kind of like turn around so James is facing the emo kid, and he just looks up and the emo kid is staring at him with like the creepiest, most stalkerish, most scariest stare he's ever seen, because the emo kid is slumped over like the girl from The Ring, right, and is just like staring right at him. His like long black hair like covering most of his face besides his eyes, and he's like slumped over too, like kind of like crouching over like an old guy with a cane or something but without a cane. And James is like, hey, do you mind if we turn like 45 degrees this way or 90 degrees this way? Thank you, that's much better. So he doesn't have to see him anymore. Or actually, let's do a whole 180. I mean, he didn't ask for a 180 because he didn't want like Kate to be making eye contact with him either. But yeah, so that was a bit of a tough situation. However, you might be thinking, well, I mean, at this point, reasonably, the emo kid must have realized that this just wasn't his day, and he must have just like given up, which he's already embarrassed himself. Like, he probably gave up after this point. And while that would be pretty fair for you to believe, that was unfortunately that was just not what happened, because the emo kid would continue. Let me just say that the emo kid thought that if he had a sword fight with James, that he would be able to win the honor of his lady. I'm not even kidding you. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment emo down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I will try and heart as many of those comments as I possibly can. And also, if you want to support the channel, the best possible thing you can do is just watch this video throughout the entirety of this video, and then afterwards, if you could watch some of my old videos, that helps more than you can ever imagine. Please go in the comment section and tell me how many of my old videos you've watched today or this week. I'll heart it and say thank you, because it helps me out more than you can ever imagine. Anyways, let's go back to the story, because the emo kid is not done. In fact, he is far from being done. So what happened after the school dance? Like, over the weekend, James actually met up with Kate. They went to like go get dinner together, and that's when they officially started dating, whatever that means in 8th grade, which means, oh my God, they're gonna sit together at lunch. Oh my God, dude, that's crazy, right? But anyways, so James officially starts dating this girl. Word gets around really quickly, and eventually the emo kid, I'm pretty sure at this point the emo kid would have known, but by his next actions, it's not super clear. So that Monday is the first kind of like lunch day that Kate and what's his name, James, are going to be having their first real at-school lunch date, which is a pretty big deal for the 8th graders there. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal in general, but hey, man, let them have their fun. And so, yeah, he sits down, like he finds Kate, they sit down, and they're at a table by themselves, and like people are looking over and talking and be like, ooh, someone's dating, whatever, right? And however, James, Kate is facing away from the door, but James is facing the door, and James sees the door open up, and he sees the emo kid walk in, and James is like, this is tough. Because James feels bad. He legitimately feels bad because, I mean, if the roles were reversed, he would feel bad, like seeing the girl that he really liked a week ago sitting with the guy who was low-key his like enemy rival on a date. Like, that would be tough to see. And James started to feel a little bit worried when the emo kid starts to approach him, right? Starts to approach him. And yeah, so the emo kid walks up to their table. And at this point, Kate also realizes that someone's walking up, so she turns around. And the emo kid walks up and doesn't look at James. He's not paying any attention to James. He's actually acting as if James doesn't even exist at this point. The emo kid turns to the girl, Kate, I forgot her name for a second, and says, Kate, I've been wanting to ask this for a while, but since we've become so close in the last couple weeks, which they have never spoken before, but that is beyond the point. At this point, that is beyond the point. He's like, I was wondering if you would like to go on a date with me, if you would like to start dating. And James is like, oh, no, he doesn't know. How does he not know? Because James is like, everybody knows. Everybody told everybody, but I guess everybody didn't tell the emo kid. Of course they didn't. And Kate at this point is like, oh, well, I'm very flattered. And the emo kid's like, well, if you're flattered, then you should say yes, correct? And at this point, she's like, oh, well, you see, it's actually not great timing because I'm actually currently in a relationship. And the emo kid's like, what? How? With who? And James is like, oh my God, this is so awkward. He doesn't know. So James has kind of assumed that the emo kid didn't think anything of the fact that James got like the dance with her, which in all reality, the emo kid was kind of the one who had the most common sense in that situation, because just because someone dances with a girl once doesn't mean anything, right? But at this middle school, if you got the slow dance, you were basically in. You were locked in at this point, is what I'm trying to say. So Kate has to go on to awkwardly explain to the emo kid that, well, the guy that she's sitting at right now on the lunch date with happens to be the guy that she's dating. And the emo kid turns to James, looks at him, looks him down and up, like does like the elevator look when he looks at like the top of his head, looks all the way down, then looks all the way up, turns back to Kate and is like, really, dude? You decided to date this guy when you could have dated me? He's like, bruh. And he just kind of like storms out of there. And James looks at Kate and he's like, dude, how did that kid not know that we're dating at this point? Like, I swear to God, all your friends told everybody. Like, and Kate's like, dude, my friends didn't tell everyone. And James is like, if you ask anyone at the school, besides the emo kid, apparently, they will know. And Kate's like, yeah, okay, my friends do talk a lot. And they're like, well, that was pretty awkward. Hopefully nothing else happens again. You might be thinking at this point, Connor, the emo kid must stop. There's no way he continues on. There's not a chance that he continues, right? Well. I got some news for you guys. He does continue, and it's bad. Because you might be thinking that, oh, well, the emo kid stormed off and he was done. No. About 20 minutes later, when there's only like 10 minutes left of lunch, James sees the doors open up again, and he's like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Because the emo kid walks through. But this time, he is like stomping towards James super angrily. He runs up to the table practically, looks at James, looks him in the eye, and says, it's not over between us. It is far from over between us. And is like taking his little finger and like pointing at James. And James is like, okay, nice. Like, I like, we do not care. Like, I don't know what else to say at this point. Like, okay, cool, nice. Like, okay, what do you want me to say? And the emo kid after that is like, you better watch yourself. It's about to get bad. He like storms out of there. And, you know, at this point, James is like, okay, well, I guess that answers my question. So the next day at lunch is where things get really, really, really crazy. So he's sitting there with Kate on his second date. James is enjoying himself. He's having a good time with Kate. They're enjoying each other's presence. They're doing well. I mean, they're kind of clicking, so things might continue on, right? And that's when the emo kid walks in, and he's carrying like two sticks, like two pretty good sized sticks that he probably found in the backyard of the school. So in the backyard of the school, there's like a mini forest, nothing too crazy, but there's like a pretty big forest back there. And the emo kid must have gone back there and like found two decent sized sticks. He walks into the cafeteria with one stick in one hand and one stick in the other, and James is just looking at him. And he's like, he kind of says like to Kate, he's like, oh, okay, we got trouble. Kate turns around, looks at it, and it's just like, turns back around and is like, what? And James is like, yeah, I have no idea what's happening, but I guess we're about to see. So the emo kid walks up to the table, like kind of like waddles his way up, and he's like, you. And he like hands the stick to James, and James is like, like, I need a little explanation. What do you want me to do with this? Like, it's not super clear. The emo kid's like, you and I will have a sword battle, and whoever wins the sword battle will have the will win the honor of your lady, and will. At this point, like Kate's like, what? And James is like, dude, what are you saying? He's like, fight me to the death. The winner gets your girl. And James is like, no. And the emo kid's like, oh, so you're scared of me then? You know that you're gonna lose, and that's why you don't want to do it. And James is like, well, I'm not convinced I'm going to lose. I mean, I'm not an expert at random stick fighting or whatever, but at the same time, why would I want to even engage? Like, why would I even want to do it? And the emo kid's like, well, I mean, for the sake of your honor, bro, like, do you really want to be known as the guy who chickened out because he's a chicken? And James is like, well, I mean, I don't really care, but I also don't want to be known as the guy who went on, who during the dance last Friday grabbed the DJ's microphone and like stopped the music to like ask out a girl who was very clearly in the middle of dancing with someone else, and then come into school the next day super angry with a bunch of sticks and try and like fight some guy to get the girl that already obviously said no to him twice. At this point, the emo kid's like, so what you're saying is that you're too scared to fight me, and because you know you'll lose. And James is like, dude, we're going in circles right now. I'm not fighting you. I'm not having a sword fight to the death. Like, okay, I'm just not doing that. At this point, the emo kid's like, fine. Well, you're about to see me in my final form, where I am the most powerful. And James is like, okay. Like, word. And then the emo kid reaches up to James and rips out like a strand of his hair. And James is like, dude, like, that hurt. Like, why would you do that? And the emo kid's like, I need that for my wizardly spells. And he like laughs really awkwardly and like shuffles out of there. And James turns to Kate. He's like, dude, like, what life choice did I make to get myself to this position? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, what choices did I make that got me here? And Kate's like, I don't know. Like, this is kind of tough. He's like, yes, why me? Like, why? Why? Like, you just came up to me with a bunch of sticks and says, I want to fight you, right? And then all of a sudden, you know, he just, like, pulls a piece of hair. Like, what? Huh? Bro? I just don't know. I just don't know what to do at this point. And Kate's like, yeah, I don't know. But, like, I think eventually he'll just get bored of whatever he's doing and give up. So anyways, next day, it is lunch. Lunch once again. And James comes in, and he finds Kate. And he's almost like they sit down, and he's almost like, he's really stiff. He's, like, not talking that much. And Kate's like, are you good? Like, is everything okay? And James is like, dude, it's not you. It's just the emo. I just don't know what that kid's going to do today. Like, I'm not trying to lose any more hair. Like, that really hurt last night. Like, I was starting to bleed from my scalp where he pulled me. Like, that was ridiculous. And, you know, Kate's like, yeah, that kid's pretty weird. Like, sorry you have to go through with that. And speak of the devil, dude. Because at that point, the emo kid walks in. And at this point, he has a backpack on. And he has a smaller stick. And he has a stick in his hand, a smaller one. And a spirit Halloween wizard hat on. and James is like, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Like, you gotta be kidding me. And at this point, Kate's like, what? She turns around and she's like, oh my God. And the emo kid walks up and he's like, ha ha ha, like, this is where you made your mistake, James. This is where you made your last mistake. And he walks out, and he sits next, and he, like, stands up next to them. He reaches into his backpack or whatever. He takes out a piece of chalk. He takes out a plastic bag that has a hair in it, presumably, James's hair. And he also has, like, a candle set and a lighter. And he sits down on their, he, like, sits down next to them. And so they had concrete floors in the lunchroom. So next to them, he draws like a pentagram, puts a bunch of like candles around like the pentagram, takes James's hair, puts it in the middle, lights all the candles. At this point, like, this is taking like 2 minutes to do. Kate and James are just sitting there looking at him, completely aghast. Like, what is this kid? What is this kid on? Like, whatever he's on, dude, like, maybe get me some of that. Oh, my God. No, but they were just like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to say? So eventually the emo kid has his whole, I don't know, his magic setup is all done or whatever you want to call it. And he starts lighting all the candles. He's like, James, this is your last chance. Give me your girlfriend and I won't put a spell on you. And James is like, dude, what do you mean give me my girlfriend? Like, it's like a mutual choice to be like girlfriend and boyfriend. Like, you're acting as if this is like the 1600s or something, and like the wife is the property of the husband, bro. Like, what are you talking about? And, you know, he's like, one more chance, bro. I'm about to put a crazy spell on you if you don't give me your girlfriend. And this is when Kate speaks up and is like, dude, like, even if he said that he was going to give me to you, I'm not going to be your boyfriend. Like, I'm not going to be your girlfriend, dude. And the emo kid's like, well, I'm going to put a spell on you too, dude, if you don't become my... He literally threatens Kate, and he's like, oh, if you don't become my girlfriend, I'm going to put a spell on you as well, which... Okay, I might not be the smoothest individual. I might not be, I don't know, the one that has the greatest pickup lines of all time. My Tinder one's pretty funny. I did steal it from my friend, but maybe I'll 5,000 likes and I'll reveal it, because it's pretty funny, but it's also a little embarrassing. But here's one thing I do know. There's a very decent chance that if you threaten to cast a spell on a woman if she doesn't become your girlfriend, she's probably, not 100%, but probably not going to become your girlfriend. I know I might be going out on a crazy limb right now, and you guys might completely disagree, and maybe you found your wife of 10 years who loves you very much from threatening her with magical spells. I just don't think that's a great way to do it. So eventually the emo kid finishes up, and then he lights the hair in the middle, and then he takes his magic wand, waves it around, and just starts saying a bunch of nonsense. And at this point, half the entire cafeteria is just like looking. They've almost like circled around it like it was a school fight or something. They've circled around it, and they're just like, what the frick, bro? Like, oh my God, like what's going on right now? And eventually the emo kid like points his magic wand at James and is like, ooga booga, or I don't know. He's just saying some nonsense. And like literally 15 seconds of pure silence happened. And then very clearly nothing happens. And he's like, I'm going to give you one more chance. I'm going to count to 3. If you don't, you're going to explode because of my spells. And James is like, I think I'm going to take the risk. He's like, 3? I'm going to give you one more chance, bro. Like, I'm going to give you one more chance. And James is like, nope. I'm going to take the risk here. 2? And he's like, yeah, no, I'm good, man. Like, you can go ahead with this. If I explode, I explode. Like, that's tough. 1? Last chance, dude. I'm being super generous right now. Just give me your girlfriend, and we'll be all good here. And James is like, nah, I'm chilling, bro. He's like, fine. Kicks it. The emo kid literally kicks over his magic, like, whatever set, because I think he knew it wasn't going to work anyways, which thankfully it was concrete floors and nothing, like, flammable, because, like, the candles fly all over the place or whatever, and he storms out of there. He, like, storms out of there. At this point, James sits back down. He's like, maybe we should go on dates at night when we're not in school. And Kate's like, that's not a bad idea. So the next day, Kate and James actually don't sit together at lunch. They sit separately. So they decide that if they're going to like do anything, at least for a little bit, to do it outside of school, like after school or at lunch or something like that. But the emo kid once again comes up to James, and James is like, oh my God, dude, like what? What now? And the emo kid, like, he literally goes on one knee and like kind of like presents, he's down on one knee, puts his head down and says like, I concede the battle, you win. Like, I tried everything possible, but you are the better duelist. Like, I honorably concede. And in James's head, he's like, bro, he didn't say this, but he's like, bro, you did not honorably concede. You did the least honorable, you did not concede honorably. But at this point, James sees this as a perfect opportunity for the emo kid to just stop. So he's like, all right, man, like, it was a good battle. It was really close, and you'll get them next time. Like, honestly, James is trying to be as chill as possible so that the emo kid doesn't come back and be like, well, actually, I'm going to try more magic or something. And the emo kid stands up, and he, like, kind of, like, nods his head. And James nods his head back, and the emo kid bows and leaves. And yeah, after that point, James and Kate actually were able to like do like lunch dates or whatever in school again. The relationship lasted like 6 months. It didn't last crazy long, but Kate and James are still cool to this day. Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it.